Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, this is Chris of FinalScore, and we are live on Facebook Live. And I'll tell you what, this is monumental. This is our first time being live on Facebook.
It's a first time for everything this week.
It really is. It's that crazy kind of a week. But if you did not notice, Craig is also with me today. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, especially now that you were able to get that crap off your head, and now it's just sitting on the table. And I think that's exactly where it needs to be. Looks great.
You got a smudge on your shirt there. It looks like a booger. It's green.
They call that the spot of excellence. Yes, the spot of excellence.
Spot of excellence.
But we do have a very packed show today. So much going on, and we're going live just because we have college games that are starting at noon. We got NFL. It's going to be going on later this week. It's going to be insane. So much going on.
The official opening weekend of college football, mind you. We had week 0 last week.
That's just that primer to get you kind of ready. Wet the whistle.
I feel like college football doesn't actually start until the first noon game kicks off.
Oh, and it's going to be so good.
You got Thursday, you got Friday. Okay, it's cool. It's Labor Day weekend. The first Saturday of a noon kickoff, that's the official start of college football for me.
Yeah, and another reason we got this going as early as we did, because we are also expecting Hurricane Dorian to give us some type of effects as it gets ready to pass on through the Florida area. So we want to make sure this got out. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And if you're in any of the affected area, any of the friends of the show or anything, obviously please be safe. Evacuate if you need to, but take the precautions necessary. Be safe. Take this seriously. It's supposed to be a Cat 4.
Yeah, and I know us crazy Floridians like to be nuts and go outside with American flags and windmill our hair in the middle of a hurricane, but it's not always a good idea. You could end up getting hit by something or, get blown over real badly.
That's what I was planning on doing this weekend.
That's what I was planning.
I've got the refrigerator stocked, ready to go.
Well, there's a difference between a hurricane party going outside and being crazy. But the big thing is, though, no matter what, try and be safe. I know we really look at these hurricanes after being through so many here in Florida and kind of poo-poo them and push them to the wayside. But at the end of the day, these are very serious storms that Mother Nature likes to throw at us. So please take them seriously and try and take every precaution that you can. But
I think it's me. I've been here for 5 years. This is my 3rd hurricane already. I think it's my fault.
Well, I think Mother Nature might be trying to tell you something.
You know what? Sorry. I like Florida too much.
I know. It's that sunshine, man.
It's all that sunshine.
You can take the rain with the sunshine.
The beautiful birds chirp. Oh, I'm sorry. Those are cicadas. Those are not birds.
Cicadas.
Those are cicadas.
Yes,
not
they may eat you. Anyways, at the end of the day, though, we have a very, very action-packed show, and we're going to hit it right off the top. I tell you what, we got so much going on. We're going to kick it off first with some college football.
Of course. We try to have some fun on the show, so we have we're doing a weekly pick'em where we get to pick a slate of games. Generally, they're games that involve some of the top 25, maybe some of the close like spread games, things like that. Right. Games that we think will be interesting, and we want to pick those. So last week, week 0, we had 2 games on the docket. We had only Miami 2. And Florida. We both picked Florida. That ended up actually being a really good game.
Yeah, it ended up being a real nice classic, real back and forth. We also saw the return of the turnover chain as well as the debut of the touchdown rings.
That's the most Miami thing ever.
What's going to be next? The kickoff backpack?
No. Oregon State did it. They have a turnover chainsaw. I'm not kidding. A turnover chainsaw, Oregon State. I was watching part of that game last night against Oklahoma State. Turnover chainsaw.
I don't even know how to dignify that with a response.
What do you go from there?
I mean, I know there was one team that tried doing a Prada backpack of some type, so maybe hitch it up, or I like the classic approach. Get Virginia Tech and the lunch pail. I feel that's very classic. Come to work, do your job.
I like that
until you play Notre Dame and get beat by 20. But anyways, very action packed. There was 2 games last week because the other game that we had was Arizona visiting Hawaii, which Arizona was very, very heavily favored in this game. And Hawaii came ready to play, and Arizona did have a shot right at the end. If you actually saw on our Instagram account at PCN Final Score, you definitely saw the snippet of the quarterback making a nice scramble up the sideline, trying to get that little quick run into the end zone and just get stonewalled.
Khalil Tate's looking for a solid season this year. playing in Arizona, and they're going to have a high-powered offense, as you have seen if you watch the game. But playing in Hawaii, and they're a tough out. They're a really tough team, and they played a hell of a game. And a fun little video, we showed the video of Khalil Tate making it all the way. But the guy that made the tackle, there's another video that was released by CBS Sports right after that.
Right.
Where the player that made the tackles was a defensive tackle. He was one of the first players to whiff on Khalil Tate getting a sack in the backfield. Didn't give up on the play and sprinted the 45 yards down the field to make a game-saving tackle.
That's right. So if you're a player out there who plays defense, never give up on the play.
We appreciate you.
You could end up making the game
Former
winner.
lineman over here appreciates you.
Very much so. Very much so.
But that was week 0. So, of course, week 1, we've had a couple of games get started. 4 games Thursday, 4 games Friday. Real quickly, those games, we had UCLA at Cincinnati. I correctly picked Cincinnati. You picked UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA couldn't get it done.
Chip Kelly is not... it's not working for him.
I don't think it is.
He tried NFL, and then it didn't work, and now he's come back to college.
Let's not talk about those NFL days, though.
He still needs... How did it work with those Eagles, huh?
That's painful. Dream team.
But he's got some work to do in UCLA. Obviously, you're trying to revive that program and make it somewhat relevant again. Cincinnati had a solid year last year. Luke Fickell had 11 wins. They have a kid, Warren. It's either Warren the second or Warren the third, but he's their star running back. He got hurt in the game, but he's going to be a really good special player in the AAC. But Cincinnati wins that game. UCF, Florida A&M. We knew that was what was going to happen there.
Burner.
Yeah, that was. If you're Florida A&M, it was not so much.
No, not so much.
But Florida A&M loses 62-0 in that game. The score of the Cincinnati UCLA is 24-14. We both correctly picked that. Clemson, Georgia Tech. Again, we both correctly picked Clemson here.
Yeah, with instituting a new system in Georgia Tech, I wasn't too surprised, having to learn a new offensive playbook and all those types of things that Georgia Tech is going to go through that growing pain.
No more triple option, correct?
No more triple option. Going to pro style.
Clemson wins 52-14 there. Last game of Thursday night, BYU, Utah. This game ended up not being close. I thought it would be pretty close. We both correctly picked Utah there. That game had to stop. I was watching it up until they had a lightning delay, and then I had to go to bed. It was getting late.
Yeah,
I actually
it got kind of crazy with the stoppage of some of these games too. But
yeah, Utah ends up winning that game, and then of course yesterday, Wisconsin, South Florida. Wisconsin, they really struggled in the passing game. They're going to be in trouble.
Oh yeah.
If they can't get a passing game going in the Big Ten West, good luck trying to win that division and get to the Big Ten title.
but when you have the nasty running game that they do, they might not have to worry about it too awfully much. So we'll definitely see how things develop as we go forward.
Very true. Wisconsin wins 49-0 in that game. Second game, Nevada, Purdue. We both picked Purdue. Both dead wrong.
Oh yes.
We're gonna cover a couple of things about that game in a few minutes, but Nevada had a huge comeback and makes a game-winning field goal there. Colorado State, both correctly picked Colorado. Colorado wins that game 52-31. Final game that we have on the slate for Friday, Oklahoma State, Oregon State. Oklahoma State wins 52-36. We both correctly picked that one as well. Huge slate of games today.
Oh, huge slate.
I think we've got 10 games. 10 games just today that we've got on our pick'em slate.
Yeah, that's just on the pick'em slate because that doesn't even include how many are actually happening, which I think we're pushing, 20, 30 games alone? And there's still a game tomorrow, still a game on Monday. God, I love college
Sunday,
football's back.
Monday.
I'm so happy.
So much fun to be back. But as of right now, so far this week, Chris, you are 7-3 and I'm 8-2.
Yes. It's okay. Long season.
Yeah, it's a long season. I mean, for today, other than 3 games.
I think
we have 4 games that we actually picked differently today.
I think maybe we need to put a friendly wager on our season.
We're already going to have a friendly wager on when Michigan beats Notre Dame.
We're not talking about that because we already know what's going to happen, and I can't wait to make you wear a bunch of Notre Dame gear. Oh, it's going to be gorgeous.
I'm going to make you sing Michigan's fight song.
Ugh, God.
Yep.
I don't want to hurl.
Get ready. It's going to be glorious.
It's going to be like vinegar coming out of my mouth. Tell you
Better
what.
than bile, I guess, right? Bile and vomit.
All right, now this show just took a whole nother turn. But anyways, getting back to some of the games that we have on slate, one game that we definitely are going to look at right at the top of the slate, Ohio State and Florida Atlantic. Now, a lot of people would think, why would you even include this game? Because Lane Kiffin is still at Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic was not that bad of a team last year.
Yeah, they were not terribly bad, but most people are looking at this with Ohio State, Justin Fields and Ryan Day, head coach. Justin Fields taking over, was a transfer from Georgia. Somehow was granted a hardship waiver for whatever reason. I don't know why. But that's what most people are looking at for this game is how is that offense going to look? J.K. Dobbins is still there. He's still going to tear it up. I think we both think that Ohio State's still going to roll in this game. But we had a couple other games that are going to be really, really interesting. Checking out Kentucky, Toledo. I think that's going to be a lot closer. Spreads at 10. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that.
I think it'll be in 10, honestly. I think this will only be like a touchdown game, and I think it's going to be surprising how much Toledo is going to show up.
I agree. I think it'll be a very close game. Nebraska, South Alabama. I'm just looking forward to see year 2 of Scott Frost. I want to see how that offense progresses and get Nebraska back to where it should be. Kansas, Indiana State. This is a sleeper game for me. Kansas, you're on upset alert. Sorry.
Oh, my gosh.
We'll talk about that in a minute. UNC, South Carolina. I think this is going to be a really underrated game. Mac Brown.
I think it will be.
Mac Brown's at UNC, and they've got a true freshman starting at quarterback. It's going to be a tough game if you're UNC.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole new regime now brought in North Carolina. The Tar Heels definitely are going to have a shot in this game. But I think South Carolina, they are an SEC team, and they're able to get those SEC players. And it's South Carolina, you can't sleep on them. I know they weren't that great last year, but in a rivalry game, you can never count them out. I think this one will be a classic.
I hate that phrase, SEC players, SEC team. SEC is not the powerhouse it was 10 years ago.
Should we get a soundboard and get an SEC chant going?
Stop, Paul Feinbaum.
Stop. Oh, I love the reference. But look,
Paul Feinbaum, get out of here.
Looking at these other games, we have Virginia Tech at Boston College. You have Virginia Tech in this one while I have Boston College.
I do. I think this is a turnaround year for VT.
Could be.
They both had. I think Virginia Tech was 7-6 last year. Boston College was 6-7. BC won this game last year. Virginia Tech's looking for some retribution. They had been on a 3-game win streak, and that fell apart in Blacksburg last year. So they're at Boston College. So I think it's really gonna be a fun game to watch. The next game, Stanford Northwestern. This is a huge game. Not only I'm excited for it, but as a fan of the Big Ten, I'm really looking forward to seeing what will Pat Fitzgerald's team do as a follow-up to last year's Big Ten title appearance? Absolutely.
And honestly, with everything Northwestern's been doing over the past couple seasons, for them to start the season against a quality opponent like Stanford. Now, Stanford obviously isn't exactly what they were a few years ago, but Stanford still is a formidable team that you have to watch out for. So I feel that this could really show what Northwestern is really made of.
Yeah, David Shaw's got to make sure that run game is back to what it was a few years ago. You can't rely on KJ Costello to just carry this offense. That's just not the way this team has been set up over the past, almost decade, really. But that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Really excited to that one. Next game we had Florida State, Boise State. This was a 7 p.m. Got moved up because of Hurricane Dorian. Now it's going to be played in Tallahassee.
Right, being moved from Jacksonville.
More so solidifies my pick that I picked Florida State here.
Stop.
Boise State, really good team still. Florida State has really got a lot of turmoil, but you got to pay attention to they have their quarterback I forget his name. It's James Blackman. But Alex Hornibrook, transfer from Wisconsin, is also on the QB roster. Not a bad QB, lefty, but I think Florida State. They have a new offensive coordinator. They're trying to spread it out, run more of a spread offense. I wouldn't be surprised if they take this game.
I could see FSU making this very, very competitive. The only thing I worry about, though, is that with Blackman, he's not a really tested quarterback. He hasn't been in these kinds of big game situations before. There was already a lot of hoopla around this game, but now that everything's so fluid in the situation, having the game moved up 7 hours, having the game moved west, another 3 hours. So it's a lot of change, and I don't know if this team's really gonna be able to handle it. Now, it does play a little bit more to FSU, them being in Doak Campbell Stadium. However, There's so much going on. New quarterback, new offensive coordinator. You have all these new things that they're still trying to acclimate to, while Boise State is doing what's tried and true and what they did last year to be able to rattle off a double-digit win season. So I feel Boise State is going to be able to take this one, but it's going to be close.
I agree. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see multiple QBs for Florida State this
definitely.
Next game, Michigan and Middle Tennessee State. This game's at the Big House. Of course, we're both going to see Michigan. I'm excited to see new offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis and what that offense looks like. Auburn and Oregon, big game on the slate. They're at College Game Day is in Texas today, and because of this game, this is huge for the Pac-12.
Very huge.
Oregon needs this a lot more than Auburn does, but I think Auburn takes it. You've got Oregon in this game.
Yeah, I got Oregon. I feel like with their quarterback Herbert coming in, I think he's going to be a great quarterback. He is a Heisman hopeful, and I think he'll be able to take control of this game. He even made comments earlier this week where he felt very, very happy and satisfied in the fact that he came back for this season rather than trying to make a jump to the NFL. So I feel that his leadership, his experience is going to shine through, and that this Oregon offense is now going to get back to humming like it used to do during the Quack Attack.
Line play is going to come in big, and I think that's where Auburn has a real big advantage, both offensive and defensive line. Their defensive line, they have monsters at defensive end. I think they're going to cause some havoc and really make this Oregon offense look pedestrian at best. Last game tonight, we got USC Fresno State. We both picked USC here, and I had a hard time picking USC for this game.
Ooh, I tell you what, picking USC is really, really hard just because I don't feel that they are also in a very stable situation right now. Honestly, USC, I'm going to say it right now, you're on upset alert because if you don't get things going and get this ball rolling correct, you're going to be in for a long season.
Yeah, and they're really falling on tough times, but I'm absolutely with you on that. USC, better be careful.
Better be careful.
Sunday and Monday, the last two games we have on our pick'em schedule, we've got Oklahoma hosting Houston. That's going to be a tough one.
I honestly think this is going to be a lot more intriguing of a matchup than people think, because a lot of people think that number 4 Oklahoma is just going to run away with this. With Jalen Hurts now as the entrenched starting quarterback, you have returned a good number of your receivers. Obviously, you lose Hollywood Brown, but you still have a decent defense to work on as well, even though it is a Big 12 defense. But you are playing Houston, so should be a much more manageable game. But Houston has a very vaunted offense that should be able to put up a lot of yardage against that defense. So I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to go down. I bet you it's going to be within 2 touchdowns of a game. So the spread's
at 23 right now with Oklahoma. You think they cover?
I honestly think that this game is only going to be decided by 10 to 14 points.
I could see that. Yeah, both teams have big offenses, but who's the quarterback? Like Greg Ward Jr. is not there anymore.
That is true.
So he's a multi-talented athlete, no longer under center for Houston. So they have turnover at quarterback as well.
Yes.
Jalen Hurts transferring in from Alabama. Let's see what Lincoln Riley really does with this kind of QB.
I mean, you got to think the third straight transfer quarterback you've had come in. The first 2, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray.
Both Heisman Trophy winners.
Both starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Big shoes to fill, man.
Huge shoes.
And number 1 picks, by the way.
But if anybody can do it, it's Jalen Hurts, because he comes from a Nick Saban-led Alabama offense that he stood in for multiple years as a starter, and obviously ended up being unseated by Tua Tagovailoa. But at the end of the day, he still was a very established starter. Only had 2 losses while at Alabama.
Yeah.
Only 2.
It's kind of tough when you play high school teams in your non-conference schedule. But,
I mean, we all can't play Furman and Weber State, but, because
it's okay.
Because Notre Dame only plays 1 teams.
Alabama took a step up in their non-conference, and they're playing Duke. They're playing Duke.
Don't play down Duke, because Danny Dimes came from Duke.
Yeah, your point. Hey,
that's probably what they're going to be able to hang their hat on football-wise.
I'm on the Danny Dimes train, but, I mean, come on. Cutcliffe is not the type of coach that's going to get big-time recruits, and he's the kind of guy he brings in his dudes, and they'll get 8 wins a season, maybe.
I don't know. Now that Eli has been successful in the league, now Danny Dimes can go on and be successful in the league. Now you can start saying, hey, I make NFL quarterbacks. Maybe you could use that as a recruiting point.
1 every 15 years? Okay. I mean... Well, let's just check in with Dave Cutcliffe.
He covers generations.
Let's check in with Dave Cutcliffe when he's coaching from a wheelchair in 15 years. He's got another NFL quarterback.
He worked for Bill Snyder in Kansas State for the longest. So.
I guess you're right. You're right. Last game, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish against Louisville in Louisville. Right. This is really going to be a make or break season for Brian Kelly, I think, because you've got Ian Book, you're returning a lot of players. Mm-hmm. You had a playoff run last year, and now it's Ian Book's show to run.
Yes, no Wimbush to worry about.
Yeah, and Louisville's trying to get back to what they were with, like, even pre-Lamar Jackson when they had a couple of seasons before they even made the ACC and all that. How do you feel about Notre Dame in this game?
Honestly, I feel pretty good about Notre Dame just because of a lot of the facts that you had already listed. They're returning a lot of their defensive starters, which is huge. The only one they've really lost was in the secondary and one or two defensive linemen. The biggest thing I'm looking at, though, is the running game. We have to replace the running production that we had when we lost a lot of different guys over the past couple of years, like Josh Adams and so forth. So I'm interested to see what the running game is going to do at this point, as well as the passing game. We did lose some of our top receivers from last year. Quantum St. Brown is gone. We lost, who was the other? Miles Boykin is gone. So we've lost a lot of guys. So we're going to be looking for a lot of these receivers to step up. But the big thing that we have is that there is no Brandon Wimbush breathing down the neck of Ian Book anymore. Brandon Wimbush ended up transferring out. He's starting for UCF now, and got lucky to do so, by the way. You know, got to go through 2 quarterback injuries to get that starting job, but, you know, neither here nor there. No saltiness here.
Did he Tanya Harding it?
Maybe, a little bit.
Maybe.
Anyways, but Ian Book is now in a position where he's had a year under his belt. They had the game against Clemson, which was a learning game. And honestly, the only reason that score was what it was is because we had an NFL caliber corner go down. They attacked at the corner like you should when you see a guy like that go down. So, you know, absolutely. Notre Dame in every respect, though, hung in that game the best they could. Still lost by less than Alabama. So that being said, Ian Book is going to be stepping in as a seasoned veteran now. And I think he, especially with his decision making, is going to be able to steer this team where they need to go. And it's going to start by beating Louisville by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they're favored by 19 on the road, and that's the only game on Monday to cap off week 1. But we're capping off, talking about all the games that we're expecting. We want to talk about top performers so far this week.
Oh, man, there's been a lot of them.
You can't talk about top performers this week without leading it with the defending national champs, Clemson, and their running back, Travis Etienne.
Yeah, Etienne is something else. He ended up having 12 carries for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns in their 52-14 win over Georgia Tech on Thursday. And honestly, he looked like a man possessed. He's already in midseason form.
Yeah, 200, like you said, 205 yards, 3 touchdowns, and trounced Virginia or Georgia Tech. Excuse me,
man. You're getting all tripped all over yourself.
I know.
You're like me last week.
I'm just like you last week. Second game ball, we got Wisconsin running back Jonathan Taylor. He was a leading rusher in college football last year, and he came out, and this offense didn't look great until they gave him the ball. I mean, he could not be stopped. And the big question about Jonathan Taylor was, can he catch the ball out of the backfield? We know how good of a runner he is, but absolutely. Can he catch the ball in the backfield? He showed that he is a dual threat at running back. He had 183 total yards and 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 receiving. He averaged over 8 yards a carry on the ground.
God, that's disgusting. 135
yards rushing and 48 receiving in a 49 zip win over USF in Raymond James.
Yes, and that's crazy. Now, USF may not be the best opponent, but still, Wisconsin went back to what they do best, and that is literally 3 yards in a cloud of dust, or in this case, 8 yards in a cloud of dust, because they just flat out just could not stop Jonathan Taylor. And he is part of a long line of Wisconsin running backs that are literally just showing that you could still have a very successful power running game. So definitely going to be interesting to see how their season goes forward. Third game ball, though, is going to go to Oklahoma State running back Chuba Hubbard, who had 26 carries for 221 yards, an 8.5 average, for 3 touchdowns in their 52-36 road win over Oregon State. It's disgusting.
You know this offense is going to be high-powered. Of course, having watched Oklahoma State for the past 10 years, you've seen a lot of... Yeah, I haven't been to a game or anything, you know.
Yeah, no, not at all. Or met Barry Sanders. I haven't been to a game
and met Barry Sanders and all that stuff last year. But, you know, this offense is going to be high-powered every year. You wouldn't expect something like this out of a guy like a running back. Usually you'll see this out of the quarterbacks or out of the receivers. Right. And this is a great start for Oklahoma State, who really needs they want a bounce back year under Gundy, and they struggled a bit. They had high expectations, struggled out the gate in conference play. This is a really good start to go on the road on the West Coast and get a big win against an improving Oregon State team.
Most definitely. But looking at our fourth game ball, overall, we're going to give the whole ball to all the quarterbacks who played in the Utah State at Wake Forest. Wake Forest was held off a late rally, ended up winning 38-35, but Utah State quarterback Jordan Love played out of his mind, 33 of 48 with a 68% completion percentage for 416 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had 3 picks too, but hey, when you're gunslinging like that, what do you expect? But then you also look at the flip side at Wake Forest quarterback Jamie Newman was 34 of 47 for a 72% completion percentage for 401 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he led the game-winning drive, scoring with only 1:08 remaining. I tell you what, that game was a classic. Absolute classic.
Yeah, it was an amazing game on both sides. You had Wake Forest. They had the lead, then they gave it up. It was back and forth for a while, but Wake Forest held off a late rally, and they scored a touchdown with a minute left, and that was
so good.
It was such a good game to watch. And Wake Forest, they're getting better. They've made bowl games each the past couple of years. They've won consecutive bowl games. And Utah State is always a tough out. They really are. Very tough football team. So this is still, even though you lose the game, if you're Utah State, you got to feel at least a little bit, about how you performed on the road at Wake Forest, going across country.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at Utah State and the teams they've been able to play on the road tough. You look at this Wake Forest, definitely a tough opponent. Auburn a couple seasons ago, they went on the road and almost beat Auburn in Auburn. So Utah State is a team that can take on these kinds of challenges. Definitely watch out for them the rest of this season. But the next game ball is going to go to the entire Michigan State defense, who played great, amazing football on the defensive side. We're a little shaky on the offensive side, but really made it happen on the defensive side. You ended up having Kenny Willix, who ended up recovering 2 fumbles, and he had one of those in the end zone for a touchdown. And let's not forget that Kenny, he broke his leg in last year's Red Box Bowl, and this is his first action back from that injury. So really amazing. But they ended up going on to beat Tulsa 28-7 and held their entire rushing attack to negative 73 yards rushing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's impressive in any game. But the one thing that makes it more impressive is Tulsa's head coach had recently said that he felt so good about their rushing game, and they felt they could play really well against Michigan State. They felt like they could rack up 200 yards of rushing offense on Michigan State's D. You think they listened?
No, I don't think they listened.
You think Michigan State heard that and was like, okay, watch this?
Probably, and you know what? And they said, ha, you're Tulsa, bro. And went out there and just smacked them because guess what? You're Tulsa. But it was honestly a really amazing defensive performance. And on top of the 2 fumbles recovered by Kenny in the end, and one of which was in the end zone, the team as a whole forced 5 fumbles, recovering 2 and recorded an interception, and had 5 sacks as a team on the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. Absolutely insane. And oh yeah, the Golden Hurricanes held only 80 total yards.
Their leading rusher was 0 yards.
Yeah, 0 yards.
0 yards.
It was absolutely insane. But this also marks a 21st straight home opener win for the Spartans. So definitely see what happens. Maybe Michigan might need to watch out this year.
They're looking for a bounce back season. They've got Brian Lewerke is coming back, and he really struggled last year. He needs to step it up. He didn't perform well in this game. I think he had only 186 yards passing, but they didn't really need it. Defense kind of picked it up, but in that East Division of the Big Ten, it's wide open. I mean, especially with Urban Meyer gone, now you got Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State still. All 4 of those teams vying for that one spot in the Big Ten championship.
Absolutely.
Michigan State's looking for a bounce back year.
Definitely, and they definitely could achieve it if they're able to keep the defensive productions that they were able to keep with Tulsa. But our next game ball, I guess, is actually going to be 2 game balls.
Not just 1, 2 game balls for this.
That's right,
for
not
this
one,
team,
but 2 for Nevada. First one going to their second half offense. What can you tell us about that?
Their second half. So they went into the half down against Purdue. They're at home against Purdue, down 24-7 at halftime. They come up. Most teams, when you're on the road and you're down 24-7 at halftime, you're like, okay, let's just kind of try to get ourselves back in the game and let's make it respectable, right? They come out and they score 27-7 over Purdue in the second half. They outscore them 27-7, and they scored the final 20 points of the game to complete the comeback to make this happen. But the second game ball, not only did they make the comeback, and they scored with, I believe it was 38 seconds left or about a minute left, they get a pick with about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, very, very crazy.
Very crazy turn of events. They get a pick with about 30 seconds left, and then true freshman kicker Brandon Talton, who was named the starter that morning, by the way.
Just found out.
Walk-on kid, named the starter that morning. Comes out, kicks a game-winning 56-yard field goal as time expires. Oh, and to top it off, he got the game ball and offered a scholarship right after the game in the locker room.
I tell you what, that's an amazing story. Just a kid finding out as a walk-on, hey, kid, you're the starter, and then you're thrust into the situation of having to win the game for your team, and you end up hitting that knockoff and get yourself a scholarship to boot. I tell you what, that's a good weekend.
Yeah, that's a hell of a weekend right there. So those are all the games we've already seen. Of course, we've talked a little bit about in our pick'em. What are the games that you are most excited for this weekend?
What games am I most excited for? Well, first off, I'd have to say our noon game, Boise State at FSU. I'm really interested to see if FSU is able to take advantage of the situation, now having this game in Tallahassee, to beat a quality opponent in Boise State. But on the flip side, also, I want to see if Boise State's also able to hang also with the change of events. You know, it's always crazy when you have any type of natural disaster, hurricane, storm, whatever it may be, come through and really decide how these games are going to happen. And I always like to see teams rise to the occasion, because if you can rise to the occasion in these types of situations, you can rise to the occasion in even crazier situations, say championship game. So I definitely want to see how both these teams are going to respond coming out, especially with FSU being at home now.
Yeah, it's definitely very tough with that situation. I think this is like the second or third year in a row that we've had in the opening weekend of college football games either canceled or relocated due to hurricanes. So it's really unfortunate, but thankfully they're able to get things taken care of so that way we can still see this game happen.
Most definitely. But my second game I'm most excited for, obviously, is going to be Oregon at Auburn. Having this neutral site game at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Game's going to be at 7:30 on ABC. This is going to be the game of the weekend. And honestly, Auburn needs to come ready to play, because Oregon has a great Heisman candidate at quarterback. They have a great defense. They honestly have been doing a lot of great recruiting ever since Taggart left, and they're really trying to show that Oregon is back. So definitely watch out for that game.
Yeah, Marco Cristobal is really trying to turn around that attitude that they need to get it back to where it used to be, and having a win over Auburn is a really big step in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a really close game. I believe the line on this is only 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. Just double checking that. Yeah, it's 3.5. Over unders at 55. Oh man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know.
55?
I think it's going to go above that.
I don't think so. I think it's a push.
I don't know, because I feel like Auburn has a lot of confidence in both of their freshman quarterbacks that they brought in. And both are going to be able to make some type of noise in this game. I think both will get actual playing time.
I mean, you're looking at a 28-26 game if you are at the line right now. So you think both teams are going to score over 25 points?
I think it's going to be like a 35-31 type of game.
Think
honestly.
so?
Oh yeah,
I don't think so.
I think it'll reach that.
I think it'll go lower than that. I think Oregon's going to struggle out the gate. They're going to have a second half push, but I think they're going to struggle out the gate. Auburn's really got to be careful, because Brandon Nix is going to be taking over for Stidham from last year.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. I'm sorry. Well, I said Brandon Nix. I'm sorry.
Close enough.
Yeah, Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a true freshman starting this year. That's a big game to start in as a true freshman. So,
it really is.
But I think if anybody, and Gus Malzahn knows better than anybody, this is almost every year is a make or break year in the SEC. So if he wants to keep his job, this is a good way to start, getting a big win in a neutral site against a top-ranked Heisman candidate quarterback.
But the big thing I see with Auburn, too, is they still have Sean Shivers, too, running the ball. So they're going to have a running game. It's going to be able to take a little bit of pressure off, because you have Bo Nix and Gatewood both waiting in the wings at quarterback. So we'll definitely see what happens. But I have to say that this is a big stage, especially for a freshman, and that's why I feel Oregon's going to be able to take this one, while Auburn's still being able to break in a new quarterback. But my last game to round out my games that I'm excited for is going to be Northwestern at number 25, Stanford. I feel this game is going to be very exciting just because, like you listed earlier, Northwestern is trying to get a lot going. Pat Fitzgerald trying to get this team to notoriety to be able to show that they are a program that belongs not only in the Big Ten, but on a national stage. And what better way than going on the road into Stanford Stadium in Stanford, California on Fox in a nice late afternoon game and knocking off the Cardinal. Just saying.
I'm already calling that upset. I'm calling Northwestern's going to take this game. I think it'll be a very close game, but it's all those games that you're looking forward to. I didn't want to go the same route you did. I got to pick some other games, but I'm excited for all of those games. The games I'm also looking forward to: Houston at Oklahoma. That's going to be Sunday tomorrow night at 7:30 on ABC. Jalen Hurts' first game playing under Lincoln Riley. We already talked about what to expect in that game. I'm really excited for that one. And of course, Michigan playing Middle Tennessee tonight, 7:30 on Big Ten Network. This is, for me, this is a make or break season for Jim Harbaugh. I don't
absolutely
care.
I agree with that.
I don't care. Like, even if we don't, there's talks that he's never on a hot seat. There's talks that he might never be on a hot seat.
Everybody needs to be on a hot seat at some point.
But I don't care. As a Michigan fan, all right, first of all, you haven't beaten Ohio State at all. This is not a rivalry anymore. This is a beatdown. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing.
To the Ohio State.
Stop. But also, it's mostly because of Jim Harbaugh's play calling. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's not 1950 anymore or 1930. You can still throw the football. It is okay to throw the football. But the problem is, you had an offensive system with no quarterback, but now you get a quarterback in Shea Patterson and not the correct offensive system for him. But now, Josh Gaddis comes in, first-time play caller. He's been an offensive coach, but not a play-calling offensive coordinator. This is his first go-around. I'm excited, but proceed with caution kind of thing. This is, I think, in my opinion, this is Michigan's year. This is your playoff year. You're hoping that Ryan Day turns into Luke Fickell in Ohio State.
Real quick.
And you're hoping that now with Penn State down slightly, Michigan State was down last year. They're looking to bounce back. You have a favorable schedule. This is your playoff year. And if you don't, it would not be out of the realm of possibility for me to say fire Jim Harbaugh.
Ooh, sorry to hear first.
I know my Michigan friends, of course, diehard Michigan fan, but I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. And this was, I mean, you've been the same way with until Kelly came in and you guys made the playoff run. How many times with other coaches have you been like, okay, like we'll give them a year or two, but now it's like, no, dude, you don't do this, you're out.
Yeah, Charlie Weiss. Thank you.
For programs like the Michigans, the Notre Dames, the Ohio States, even the Alabamas now, before Saban came in, how many times did they have coaches like, all right, man, you're not winning the conference, you got to go.
And that was the thing, too, especially for like Notre Dame, just because Notre Dame holds their prestige in such high regard these days. If you don't hit at least a 10-win season, it's a failure of a season. Absolutely. And for Michigan, if you don't at least make the Big Ten championship game, which you should have made last year and the year of the first down, Shoulda,
no first down.
Woulda, coulda.
Michigan should have already been the Big Ten championship game twice in Harbaugh's tenure. But, of course, that's not how it happened. Mm-hmm. And you're only as good as your last game. You're only as good as your last season. Michigan, again, didn't make the correct bowl game they wanted, so they stopped. They didn't give a shit. They gave up. So that's why they've had poor showings in bowl games. But this is a make or break year. I'm looking forward to Michigan's offense. That's the game I'm looking forward to there. Last game, of course, I got to have a shout out to my alma mater. Western Michigan hosts Monmouth today at 7 p.m. at Waldo Stadium in Kalamazoo.
Waldo Stadium.
Yeah, Waldo Stadium.
It's a great name.
Dwight Waldo.
Great name.
Great man. Okay? Do your history. So I'm looking forward to the next season under Tim Lester. I've not been a fan of his hire. I thought it was a oh yeah, you used to play quarterback here. Come on, you can play. You had just had PJ Fleck, who took them to national recognition in the Cotton Bowl and had a chance to beat Wisconsin. early in the game.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Wisconsin took their toll on them. But you had a chance, and you've had great recruits. And, of course, the crown jewel of that, Corey Davis, drafted in the first round, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. But since then, Tim Lester went right back to what Western Michigan was, which is high expectations, always underachieve, and don't win the conference when you're expected to win the conference.
Yep.
All right. You still got a few players from PJ Fleck's tenure. Jamari Bogan is he's the top prospect there. You got Levante Bellamy there. You've got John Wasnick, who I'm not a fan of his passing ability, but he's a great dual threat quarterback. Dude sometimes can't hit the broadside of a barn. Not a great accurate quarterback, but he's a good dual threat quarterback. I'm looking forward to hopefully Western Michigan getting off on the right foot. If they struggle in this game against a team like Monmouth,
especially against Monmouth,
bro, just cash in the season. Just cash it in right away. Just give up. Fire Tim Lester. Move on. Find a new coach.
Man, you're getting heated.
I'm very passionate about my Western Michigan.
Do you need some blood pressure medication or anything?
I'm good, man. I got water.
Do you need some deep breath?
No.
You need to do some yoga or Tai Chi?
Goat yoga.
Was that when you just become Tom Brady?
Exactly. That's it.
Oh, my
TB12.
God. Oh, where did I find you? All right. So, looking forward, though. Who's on upset alert this week for you? I can get these words out.
Yeah, upset. We're both having issues today. We're just so excited about college football.
I'm going to blame the hurricane.
Oh, stop. It's not going to be that bad.
I didn't say it was. I'm just going to blame it.
I'm just it's actually going to be very serious.
Yes, please take precautions.
Please take precautions. Be serious. But upset alert this week. My first game is Kansas hosting Indiana State.
Oh, stop.
So you keep laughing at me for this before the show. You're like, there's no way. It's Indiana State. They're awful. Yeah, Indiana State's ranked 16th in Division I AA this year.
Yeah, there's teams ranked in the AP poll that ended up having a losing season last year.
But I'm just saying, like, so Indiana State averaged 220 or 242 rushing yards a game last year, and that was 14th out of 124 teams.
Okay.
They have over 5 yard a carry average. This is a young.
Disgusting. I'm not gonna lie.
What's that?
That's pretty disgusting. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Indiana State's played a lot better than what they have in the past. Kansas. Now, keep in mind that yes, they've been atrocious, and we're talking about Kansas football here. They are favored by 5. Now Les Miles is going to bring in his brand of football, which has already been taking a change for the good in that culture. So it's a good step forward for Kansas. But your star running back, all Big 12 running back, Pooka Williams, is not available because he's on a 1-game suspension. You have you don't know who you're going to play at quarterback. They've got 2 or 3 guys to pick from. And you have a young defensive line, a young defensive front for the Jayhawks. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana State pulls off an upset here. You laugh at me, but my God. Watch. If I'm right, you ain't going to hear the end of it next week.
Oh, my gosh. That's... How do I do a show with you? I don't even know.
But that's one of my upset alerts. You got another one you want to list? We got a couple others here.
Yeah, we got a few on here. I'll go ahead and hit this next one. Toledo versus Kentucky. And now I really do feel this could happen. Kentucky did have a great little memorable season last year, especially with the running game. They did a lot of great things. But Kentucky is going to probably end up being the Kentucky of old this year. I don't think they're going to be able to keep it sustained. And that's what I really worry about in this game. And Toledo is not a team that you can sleep on in any kind of way. If you sleep on Toledo, you're going to get beat. So you definitely need to make sure that you take this team seriously, even though that they are going to be visiting you. It's crazy to me that people think that teams like Kentucky or West Virginia's and these kinds of teams of the world, that you get a little bit of taste of relevance and success that, oh man, now you're here. You've made it. This is still the Kentucky of old. Let's not forget. Unless Kentucky comes out and utterly dominates in this game, I'm not going to say that they're going to be a real big contender this year. And Toledo realistically can come out and smack them in the mouth. And the line in this game is Kentucky by 10.
Yep.
However, I feel Toledo could definitely make this a game in every facet of the word, just because Kentucky has been known to come out really flat.
Yep. They have a very young defense this year.
They have an extremely young defense, which I think is going to really play to Toledo's offensive power right now, just because Toledo does have a very well-developed offense. So,
yeah, Jason Candle there, and of course, Toledo is one of the banes of my existence as a Western Michigan football fan.
Yes, they are.
Toledo is very good. They've been good. They have a high-powered offense. They like these kind of games because they know they're the underdog and they play very, very well under it. I agree. I think Kentucky can pull this off, but they're on upset alert. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Here's a fun little fact.
Okay.
We're just doing a little bit of last-minute research. Under the Stoops era, Kentucky has won just one season opener by more than 15 points. None of them have been over a Power 5 opponent.
There's a first time for everything, especially things that are bringing back Eli Peters, who was their starting quarterback last year. He only passed for about 1,800 yards, but he had 18 touchdowns to 7 interceptions and was for the most part competent as a quarterback. But the big thing that I look at is their rushing attack. They had a multi-headed monster at running back between Bryant Koback, Shaquille Seymour, Art Tompkins, Mitchell Guadagnia. All these guys rushed for at least 400 or 500 yards. Koback rushing for almost 1,000. They are able to hit you from multiple directions, and I don't know if the Kentucky defense can handle that. I really don't. So this game is looking to be a very, very interesting one. Now, I don't want to count out Kentucky entirely. It's not like they don't have a shot in this game.
No, they do. They have the superior talent.
Yes,
but
on paper,
they have superior talent. But if you're looking at it, talent doesn't always win over technique or scheme.
Exactly.
Because the old adage is talent over technique. Technique usually ends up winning when talent is lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think this is really good for a kind of a comparison for scheme versus just overall talent. Yeah, Kentucky can recruit because they've got Stoops is there, been playing well. It's an SEC. They got that draw. But Toledo is more of, they'll play guys that are system guys and they'll do well. So yeah, if you're Kentucky, you definitely want to win this game. You want to beat the spread. You want to win by more than double digits because otherwise, if you let Toledo hang around, they might pull the upset here.
Well, the thing you have to look at, too, with the Kentucky offense is that Benny Snell Jr., he's gone. You don't have him anymore. Absolutely. And he was your leading rusher. Your next leading rusher was your quarterback. So anybody beyond that, you only had one person who had more than 100 yards rushing. So your rushing game is going to be completely new this year.
A lot of turnover.
So, and your quarterback play last year wasn't the most solid, to be honest. It was manageable at best, worse so than Toledo. So definitely watch out, Kentucky, because Toledo could knock you off. Just saying.
Next game, I'm looking at West Virginia versus James Madison. Now you're probably thinking, okay, West Virginia, high-powered offense, James Madison, who? Who is that? James Madison's been one of the top FCS teams, one of the top Division I AA teams over the last few years. Both of them are boasting really, really strong offenses. And West Virginia has a lot of turnover. They got a new head coach, new faces. Will Greer's not their quarterback anymore. So if you are West Virginia, you got to be careful because James Madison has been a very, very successful team, and they're not afraid of this kind of a challenge. They've been doing really well, but if you are West Virginia, you want to start your season off on the right foot, but you got to be careful because don't overlook James Madison because you will lose.
Most definitely have to make sure you don't overlook anybody. Like you said, new quarterback, new head coach.
They actually, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you have their next game already, week 2, they're at Missouri. So they're starting conference play. If you overlook that game and try to how you're going to contain Kelly Bryant there at Mizzou, you're going to lose this game if you overlook them for Missouri.
Most definitely. But looking at the last game that we have here for Upset Alert, I thought it was kind of interesting, and I kind of had to think about it when you added this game onto this lineup between Syracuse and Liberty, which, if you're not familiar with who Liberty is a team that's been playing in the FCS level for some time now, are now making their move up to the FBS, so it's their first game ever. But interesting fact is that they're being head coached by Hugh Freeze, who's entering his first season. If you remember, Hugh Freeze is the former Ole Miss head coach. So definitely very interesting there.
Beat Saban in back-to-back seasons when he was playing Alabama.
That's right, he did. And you're also bringing in quarterback Stephen Calvert, who last year, a little shaky, year before, played great. What do they call him? Buckshot?
Nickname's Buckshot.
Buckshot Calvert. I like that.
Calvert.
Nice. Calvert. Hey, I like to give it a little flair, thank you.
What is he French? I mean, if Calvert would be French.
Calvert would be French. I was assuming he was French. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's just me. It is a Northeast kind of school, I guess. Anyways, looking beyond all that, though.
Liberty's Southeast. South Carolina, right?
I don't know, somewhere around there.
I
only heard of him once. I saw him play UCF way back in 2001. Back at the old, what is now the Camping World Stadium, the former home of UCF.
Liberty University. We apologize. Lynchburg, Virginia.
See? I thought they were up
East
there.
Coast. See, I thought Southeast, not Northeast. It's all right.
Hey,
we're in the middle.
Well, yeah, we're in the middle. It's all right. That nice little middle ground. But anyways,
the Liberty Flames, I believe, correct?
I don't think they're the Flames.
They were.
Anyways, not that we're live or anything. But Buckshot threw for 29 touchdowns and 6 picks in 2017, but followed up with 21 touchdowns and 18 picks in 2018. What kind of quarterback are we going to get out of Liberty now?
I think in this offense, with Calvert, you want to see, obviously, the quarterback from 2 years ago. You're talking about his stats from 2 years ago. But with Hugh Freeze, his quarterback play, he's going to let him make mistakes. He's going to let him sling it around. Hugh Freeze is obviously, he's recovering from surgery. He had I can't remember what it was, but he's been having to coach his practices from a hotel across the street because he's not allowed to leave his room. He has been cleared to coach from the press box this game. So I think that's already going to be a huge emotional boost.
Yes.
And it's at Liberty. It is on the road if you're Syracuse.
And that's what I thought was interesting, too.
Yeah, and the fact that they're going on the road to play Liberty, it's a first ever game. This is a perfect storm, I think, if you're Liberty. This is a perfect storm. You got a veteran QB who has had success, a new head coach who has beaten Alabama, and he brings that kind of attitude and that kind of swagger with him and that coaching ability. And it's your first ever game. The crowd, it's going to be sold out. The crowd's going to be hype. Syracuse, this is their highest. I think this is the first time they've been ranked in the top 25 preseason in like 20 years or something like that. It's been something crazy. But they're ranked at number 18.
Yeah, it's
you got to
definitely
be careful.
Crazy.
You got to be careful if you are Syracuse. We're talking about Syracuse here. Tommy DeVito is going to make his first career start. Did see some action last year, but the real big statement they need to make if you're Syracuse, you had a dominant defense last year. You forced 34 sacks, which was most in Division I, and 18 interceptions. Forced 31 turnovers last year, most among the Power 5. So that defense, if they can get after the quarterback early and force Calvert to be the 2018 Calvert, then I think you're going to see them beat this spread. The spread's 18.5. But I think they can beat the spread. But if you let Liberty get some momentum early and they're at home and it's their first game, you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect storm. I think Liberty can beat the spread, but potentially pull off the upset here.
Yeah, definitely could. And Syracuse is coming off a great season, one of their best seasons they've had in such a long time. So I know they want to try and capitalize on that and try and keep it rolling forward. But man, all this football talk, it's been crazy. We've already been live on air now for an hour. We hit noon. We're getting our first games kicking off right now.
Yeah.
Damn.
But we have breaking news, actually.
We actually do have breaking news. Very crazy right now. Before we move on, Jadeveon Clowney, defensive end for the Houston Texans. We were going to talk about this a little bit later, but since the news is so breaking, we kind of got to hit on it now.
We got to talk about it now. I mean, we're live right now, so you might as well break live news.
Jadeveon Clowney has been traded. That's right. You heard it here. He has been traded to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, we're starting in some of the terms of this trade right now, so definitely make sure that you stay with us. It's definitely a monumentous trade. Obviously, if you don't know what's been going on, Jadeveon Clowney was refusing to sign his franchise tender with the Houston Texans, and then was getting ready to when he found out the Houston Texans were getting ready to trade him, and were shopping him to Miami and Washington and all this. But now he is being traded to the Seattle Seahawks, and I tell you, this is a huge, huge boost. We're trying to find all the terms of the deal now.
Yeah, Adam Schefter has tweeted out about 10 minutes ago that Clowney's in Seattle. He's about to sign his franchise tender, which will enable this trade to happen. Jay Glazer actually reported this 55 minutes ago, about an hour ago, that Seattle and Houston have agreed to trade parameters involving physicals, things like that.
Of course, you got to be able to get that.
I don't see any names of players or anything that have been released just yet. This is a big move for not only for Seattle, because now you were improving your pass rush when you lost Frank Clark.
Okay, I found the terms right here. So they are getting the Houston Texans, or getting Jadeveon Clowney from the Houston Texans in exchange for a third-round pick, linebacker Jacob Martin, and pass rusher Barkevious Mingo. So definitely an interesting trade.
Barkevious Mingo is an interesting selection here as far as being involved in this trade, because he was pretty touted, highly touted coming out of college, and hasn't really had too much success. But I mean, when you put him alongside J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless down there in Houston, that could be a big pick for them. But a third-round pick, huh?
Yeah, third-round pick and 2 players. So not a bad move, not a bad play here, but we'll definitely see how this works out going forward. Definitely took one of our big stories for the day. But it's nice. It's nice that we were live when this broke. So I'm glad it happened.
That's awesome. It also actually changes my predictions now too for Seattle.
Yeah, it could.
I think that improves their defense, and they get a couple more wins out of this. They've actually got a chance to we'll talk about that
we'll talk about that when we actually get to it. But for right now, we are going to go ahead and take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, though, we're going to jump right into some NFL news, and including breaking down more of the Jadeveon trade. This huge news. So definitely make sure that you stay with us. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/SportsSanityCustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography, and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3CountDesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel, and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score with Chris and Craig. And we got a lot more stuff to talk about. Now we got to jump into some NFL news. What do you got?
Yeah, talking about, of course, the Jadeveon Clowney trade. We'll get into some more details as that comes in. But, of course, another big thing that happened this week.
Can't forget it.
Colts quarterback Andrew Luck retires. Shockingly retires. Announces his retirement. And the really weird part about this whole story is it was leaked during the Colts preseason game against Chicago. So, of course, that gets leaked. They had planned for a press conference the next day on Sunday, but everybody found out about it. Fans actually booed him while he left the field after the game. So he ended up holding an impromptu press conference. Of course, everybody's asking him why he wanted to make this decision, things like that. This is really shocking, the fact that it happened when it did, because it was so close to the season. But I think I have my own kind of theory and thoughts about this, but I think the biggest one is that injury to his leg, ankle, calf, whatever Jim Irsay was trying to pull it off on. I think it's more serious than they were letting on. And Andrew Luck was like, look, I don't want a Kevin Durant thing to happen to me and be injured again. Like, I'm just done.
It makes sense. Honestly, you don't want to try and put yourself through that kind of undue physical torment over and over and over again, especially when you look at it. I don't feel the Colts have handled a lot of things right when it comes to Andrew Luck, whether it came to his injuries or it went to making sure he's well protected along the offensive line, because they've only drafted, 3 offensive linemen since they drafted Luck in 2012. So I think that you're not doing a lot really to ensure the future of your quarterback health-wise and production-wise. Well,
when you get a guy like that, let's kind of look at the timeline. Is when they had Peyton Manning. He had the neck injury. You didn't know if he's going to play again. You had the perfect opportunity to get another franchise quarterback in Andrew Luck. So you got to take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
They had a great season. They made the wild card. I think they had 11 wins that first year, and they're riding the wave. But I think the one person that killed Andrew Luck's career was former GM Ryan Grigson. And you mentioned that only 3 offensive linemen were drafted before round 7. Andrew Luck, on average, has been pressured 16 times a game under Grigson's watch, which is the most of any quarterback. The most of any QB, the most in the NFL. That guy drafted, and he made some of the weirdest bonehead moves I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
We made looking at a little bit of the research on it, and it was just, some of the moves were just, Bjorn Werner? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to draft a center or a guard or tackle?
Maybe something to help
They were using at left tackle Joe Wrights, who, if no one is, unless you're a Colts fan or if you are from Western Michigan, you don't know who he is. Joe Wrights played left tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. Never played college football. He played at Western Michigan as a center for the university's basketball team. He came into the league as a tight end, kind of doing the whole Antonio Gates thing.
Right.
Where basketball, knew it wasn't going to work out. He was big. He was a big, wide body, strong guy. Let's try tight end. So we played tight end. And then the Colts decided, you know what? We're going to move you to tackle.
Because that makes sense.
Because that makes a lot of sense. What?
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely ridiculous. But, looking at this, and this is one thing I know is going to happen a lot through this entire process, is comparing Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning's careers. And I don't think that's fair, because Peyton Manning had a much longer career, had a lot more time to be able to establish himself in Indianapolis. And obviously he went on to Denver and was able to have success in Denver. But honestly, with what the Colts did to Andrew Luck, I feel he automatically from the get-go was put into a non-favorable situation. So looking at some of his career stats, though, Andrew Luck did pass for 23,671 yards, 171 touchdowns, 83 interceptions, had a career completion percentage of almost 61%. He averaged about 275 yards a game, had a career QBR of 89.5. And these are all great stats you want to hear of a guy who's been able to put in some time with the team. He even rushed for 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns during his career. Not too bad for a guy who only rushed it 332 times. So, I mean, as a quarterback, he was 53-33 as a starter, 4-4 in playoffs. Wasn't able to win the big one, but hey, he had four Pro Bowls. So, the guy showed that he could be there. But when you don't take the necessary steps to protect a guy,
right,
what do you expect to happen? And I feel that maybe the Colts probably were very taken aback by this. Probably did not expect this, obviously, in any kind of way. Because you're thinking, oh, we have the 2018 NFL AP Comeback Player of the Year, and we'll be able to go on and have more success. But then he retires. You have to look at yourself as a franchise and wonder why.
Well,
really
they made the right decision by changing GMs, and the new Ballard has been making more of the right moves. So in Gregson's last year, he finally drafted offensive linemen in the first couple rounds, but it was too little too late at that point. And Ballard finally is making moves, put them on the right track. Their defense is a lot better. They actually have a solid offensive line now, a decently solid offensive line. Yeah. But I want to point out a little tidbit. We did a little bit of research. We post this on our Instagram, but because Andrew Luck retired, remember that highly touted 2012 NFL draft?
Actually, I think I have a graphic about it.
It's weird. So let's look at the top quarterbacks that were drafted there just very quickly. Andrew Luck, number 1, just retired, 29 years old. We went through his stats. Robert Griffin III, RG3 out of Baylor. He's now a backup in Baltimore. Had a really good first year until he blew out his knee in the playoff game.
Yep.
He last started in 2016. He's got a 15-25 career record. Number 8, Ryan Tannehill. Went to Miami, played in Texas A&M. He is now a backup for the Tennessee Titans.
Seeing a theme here.
His career, 42-46 as a starter. Number 22, Brandon Weeden, one of the oldest first-round picks ever selected out of Oklahoma State. He's no longer in the NFL. He last started in 2015. He's got a career record of 6-19. Brock Osweiler, technically, he's still unsigned.
Even though he has met with the
Colts, which I think is really funny.
I think that's funny too.
But he is currently unsigned. He started in 9 games over the last 2 seasons. But he's generally been backups ever since he left Denver the first time.
And then had that horrific outing in Houston.
Yeah, horrible just career in general. Yeah. But meanwhile, three quarterbacks to note also from that draft. At number 75, Russell Wilson, Super Bowl 48 champion. He had became the highest player paid in the NFL 2019. I think he's doing pretty well.
I think he's doing pretty good.
Number 88, your boy Nick Foles.
That's right.
Super Bowl 52 MVP. Just got a huge contract with the Jags. Starter there.
And gets to glint around his Super Bowl ring.
Yep. And at number 102, you like that, Kirk Cousins. The starter in Minnesota right now. He signed the largest ever fully guaranteed contract when he left Washington and went to the Minnesota Vikings. So it's really funny. It just shows you that the NFL draft is one of the largest gambles in American sports.
Oh, absolutely. It's because the thing is that you're talking about untested athletes in a whole nother level of sport. So you're taking, what amounts to being amateurs and bringing them up a level. So you never know really what you're going to get until they actually hit the field. And it's always going to be that trying period. It's always hard to evaluate talent. I just find it so funny when you have all the analytic pundits who want to go out there and be like, oh, this is going to be the guy. I remember guys that were so huge on RG3 thought that he was going to be the next generational dual threat Michael Vick quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we saw what happened there. So
well, I think had he not gotten injured, his career would have taken a much different trajectory.
It could have.
But the part about the one thing I don't like about those running like explosive quarterbacks like your RG3s, Cam Newtons, even the Kyler Murrays now, like those kind of guys, I'm not too high on them just because of Kyler Murray's a little different because he actually looks to pass.
Get himself in position to pass.
Yeah, he doesn't scramble to run. He scrambles to throw, which is good. Russell Wilson does the same thing.
Yes.
Those kind of guys that run first, the RG3s, your Cam Newtons, that kind of stuff that aren't as accurate throwing the football, this is what you see. Once injuries set in, they're not the same player. Michael Vick had the same thing when he was out of football for a while. He had a couple injuries because he didn't learn how to slide.
Yeah, I wanted to try and make more out of something that wasn't there. That's how you end up with broken ribs.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you, I think, that while those kind of guys are the glitz and glam, they put butts in the seats. Those you have to really be cautious about drafting those kind of quarterbacks because of their history.
Absolutely.
And as soon as they blow out a knee or break an ankle, you'll be lucky to see if maybe 75% of that player come back.
The only one I felt that was ever an exception to that rule was Michael Vick, because we ended up coming back and had all the issues after he left Atlanta with the dogfighting ring and prison time and all that kind of stuff. He ended up coming back, getting picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles, and when he finally became the starter, he was a better statistical passer while in Philadelphia than he was with Atlanta. However, it was also because Philadelphia was telling him, stay in the pocket. Do not bust the pocket. We got you.
Right. And that, I think you saw that transition from him from just a career mentality is that he stopped worrying about like, okay, I'm a little bit older now. I can't do what I did when I was in Atlanta and run around people and knife defenses. I got to be more surgical in my how I think about the game. So I absolutely correct. I think he's the only one that's kind of halfway was able to resurrect his career. But most of those kind of quarterbacks, you see the similar trends happen.
Exactly. And it's sad that it happens that way. But what also is sad is the ongoing Antonio Brown saga that just can't seem to find an end. Antonio Brown has now lost his second helmet grievance case after trying to file a grievance to try and give himself a 1-year buffer period to find a new helmet. However, the NFL ended up coming back along with the arbitrator and saying, we already gave that year, bro. Like, you missed your window. So now he's back on the hunt for another helmet. He's going to try to acclimate, I guess, to a newer style of helmet. But it's just been really crazy how everything's been breaking down just because he's also been having Twitter spats with Ben Roethlisberger after Ben Roethlisberger made a bunch of comments on a radio show. People are calling out Antonio Brown saying he's looking worse and older every day. Will this end finally, like, please?
No, and that's why Pittsburgh is throwing a massive party right now, knowing that they got rid of one of the cancers in their locker room, being Antonio Brown. You had to have known that this kind of attitude was going to follow along with Antonio Brown when you acquired him. But I don't think they realized it'd be this. He'd be this much diva. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think they were quite expecting all of this. But when you look at a player with that much talent, usually they end up growing a lot bigger ego-wise than they do normally for other players. So I'm not too surprised, but I am surprised. I feel like Oakland doesn't necessarily understand exactly what they got themselves into. But I want to see how it translates now that we're past the preseason. We're getting ready to go into the full season, the regular season. Do you see the noise quiet down at this point?
I don't think so, because if he's going to probably try to do another grievance or do something. But his camp reportedly said that they found a helmet that's going to work for him that's in code or whatever.
You couldn't find that like 2 weeks ago?
Whatever. I don't know. Just figure yourself out.
Yeah, right.
But the really funny thing is, talking about this Twitter spat real quick, he was talking about how Ben and I have never been friends. He was just a means to my ends. Just shut up. And then Will Brinson from CBS Sports just kept replying to him with previous posts about what Antonio Brown said of how him and Big Ben are best friends.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, there's literally this one I was going to show you. It shows a picture. It says Step Brothers, and it's them like hold like heads next to each other.
Oh, that's great.
It's at the Pro Bowl, and he basically called him out. Just savage, one right after the other. And it was really hilarious to watch that unfold on Twitter. This is going to keep happening. You know what you're getting out of Antonio Brown. As soon as he got one of his first big contracts, Steelers fans can tell you it started from the get-go. You can't expect anything less from a guy who the whole reason he got there was for money.
Exactly. That literally was what it was all about.
I think it's really going to affect. I don't think it's going to affect the Raiders season on the field as much. They're still not going to be a great football team.
Right.
But it will affect them, and I think it'll affect how David Carr plays, because if Antonio Brown's not in practice, they're not on the same page, he's going to start getting mad at Carr for not throwing him when he's open, even if he's not open. It happens with a lot of diva receivers.
Well, they are now saying that he has been showing up to more meetings and more practices now that he's found a practice helmet, quote unquote. But still, you have lost time.
I hope he does. I really do, because I would really like to see the Raiders be relevant again, especially with John Gruden. I love John Gruden.
No, I do too.
I would love to see them relevant.
I don't feel like the Raiders have really been relevant, like seriously relevant, since 2001 when you really think about it, back in the Rich Gannon days. So
yeah, they made that Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, where they ended up throwing or having 5 turnovers and losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But it's just crazy to think that they've fallen on such hard times. But now having a cancer like this in your locker room that you have now contracted from the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's just hard to think that this isn't going to be an issue during the season. I have to agree to a certain extent that I don't think the on-field production will be as bad or as badly affected. But I do feel that the distraction that he brings to the team is going to end up being one that's going to overshadow the team, because Antonio Brown's about Antonio Brown. I don't think he truly cares about the others around him, because Antonio Brown cares about getting his numbers, getting his money, and about being Antonio Brown. That's all he cares about. And I think that's shown with his absence from practices, training camp, to worry about getting a helmet and having his foot issue that he had, that as hilarious as that was. But I just don't feel that this is going to go away. I feel this is going to continue on through the entire season and is going to really hurt the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, I think it's really going to hurt their season. I don't think this is going to help his case any by Antonio Brown being a teammate. So
not at all. But moving on, though, we were going to talk about the Jadeveon Clowney. As you see on the screen, it says in talks with Miami, but they ended up trading him to Seattle. It's such a monumentous move. No one, I think, really saw this coming this quickly. We thought maybe something might work out over the course of the next few days, but
there were reports earlier this week that it was supposed to happen within 48 hours, and that didn't happen. So we kind of figured maybe it would die off. But at the end of the preseason, right before week 1, this is where you see a lot of cuts, trades, all of those things, because guys have until 4 p.m. today. Teams have until 4 p.m. today to make that 53-man roster. And a lot of these rosters are down to maybe 65 guys still.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've really got to make a lot of cuts over this day, over the course of this day. And this is where you see a lot of trades. And we had a few last year. Who was the big one last year that we had at the trade deadline? It was... Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack, that's right.
Khalil Mack trade.
Going from Oakland to Chicago in that monumentous trade.
Yeah, that was a big one right before week 1. So we usually see that right about now. So I'm not surprised that it happened, but as you said, it kind of happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's kind of caught off guard, and now it's like, okay, if you're in Seattle, you got to be thinking division title right now.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to be excited that you can get a division title. You had, what was it, 8-8 last year? 8-8, 9-7 in that range, and LA, the Rams, are probably going to take a step back. They're not going to be as good as they were last year.
I think LA has the potential to reach those heights, but now that you have this type of a force now in one of your opponents, it's not going to be as easy.
San Francisco got better. Seattle has gotten better somehow within the salary cap. And
can we say Arizona got better?
Well, Arizona's rebuilding.
They're in transition.
They did retool their defense a bit. You bring in guys like Terrell Suggs, but I mean those guys are.
Veteran presences more so.
He's a veteran presence. Yeah, he's going to help the locker room, not necessarily on the field as much. But, I mean, Patrick Peterson's gone for 6 weeks for suspension.
Yeah, but he'll be back and be able to contribute. But talking about veterans, the Miami Dolphins, their head coach, Brian Flores, has named quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick the starter for week 1. What are your thoughts on that?
Awful decision.
Yeah?
Awful decision.
You don't think the Fitz magic's going to come in and win some games?
It's not about that for me. It is Brian Flores. You're trying to create a new culture. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you go and trade for Josh Rosen. That's fine. You want to bring in Fitzpatrick as a veteran to push him. That's fine. Mm-hmm. This is the year to evaluate Josh Rosen.
Right.
Because Miami, you're not expected to have a great year. Most likely you're going to be a top 5 pick. There's a lot of quarterback prospects coming out in the draft next year. Herbert, Tagovailoa, to name 2. Those are the kind of guys that you might be drafting next year. So why not use the whole year to evaluate Josh Rosen? Don't treat him like a rookie. He's been here for a year. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're thinking Fitzpatrick is going to play for a couple weeks, kind of what he did for Winston last year, and then maybe when Rosen's ready, he can come and start. He's a second-year veteran. The guy knows what he's doing. He knows what to expect. This is a big bonehead move, in my opinion. This is stupid.
I wonder, though, with this move, if it might be indicative of something of more underlying factor here, of the fact that maybe Josh Rosen really isn't as good as everyone thinks he is. Well, you need a backup.
Cut him. They cut Jake Rudock today as their third quarterback, so they do only have the 2 now on their roster. But I mean, really, this is as your Miami Dolphins, you're 3-4 wins, 5 if you're lucky, kind of thing. That's the kind of season a lot of people project out of you.
Right. Hashtag tanking for Tua.
If you're putting, that's not a thing. Danny Dimes is a thing. Just kidding. But Fitzpatrick, if you're putting him as a starter, you are basically saying that we think we have a good enough football team that he's going to be a veteran to help win us games. That roster's not set up to win games in that division.
No.
Maybe if both the Jets and Buffalo Bills flop, which they won't because they improved.
Yeah, if somebody, scrubs Foxborough from the face of the earth.
And Miami did not improve on their roster.
No.
This is a terrible move.
I don't think it's horrible because here's the thing I look at with this move is that this is going to be a bad season. You're not going to have a lot of success this year. So why not go with the guy who brings a little bit of magic that a lot of people can that actually know, they actually do know and saw over in Tampa what he was able to do in the time that he was given. Now, I'm not saying Fitzpatrick is a great quarterback, but he is a manageable quarterback. And on top of it, when Josh Rosen came in, he went right into starting when he was in Arizona. At this point, though, now you're able to have him take a step back.
He didn't start right away.
It was within 3 games. But the thing I look at...
I don't know about that.
Go ahead, look it up. I know you're going to.
Go ahead.
But while you do that, the thing I look at either way is that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a veteran. You're going to give Josh Rosen time to learn from this veteran. And on top of it, you're also making sure you're not putting Josh Rosen into uncharted waters by making him your starter. Just because you don't know exactly where all your strengths and weaknesses are going to be completely in your offense yet. So I think once you start finding any kind of a rhythm or where your bright spots might be or weak spots as the case may be, you might be able to put a package in for Josh Rosen that's going to be a lot more able to help safeguard him a little, because you don't want to hurt him. If he is going to be your quarterback of the future and you are invested in him and you want him to be that guy, you got to make sure you're going to protect your investment. So having Fitzpatrick go out there and take the brunt of these hits and really show what you have at this point with your offense, I think it will give you a better idea of what you can actually do with Rosen when he does eventually take over the starting job. Because I don't think Fitzpatrick's going to have it all year. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up any kind of production to say that he is going to be the season-long starter. But having him out there first really helps him take all the fire that Josh Rosen doesn't have to take.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think you want maybe, I think maybe they want to do this because Fitzpatrick you got the Fitz Magic moniker, and maybe you're trying to get butts in seats and get people to have eyes on your team because you got a couple big games to open up the season. But Rosen played better than Fitzpatrick did in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but if you look at their stats, the couple stats that the one stat I really want to look at is in Fitzpatrick with 32 attempts, he threw for 53%. 32 attempts. Rosen with 45 attempts, 62%.
Well, yeah, I
think he's a better quarterback right now, and you've got to look at the long term. Yes, you want to maybe save him if he's your quarterback of the future. This is an evaluation year. You have a big draft coming up next year, the 2020 draft, with a lot of QB prospects. Why not use this whole year? Let's see how he responds week 1.
Maybe it's that Miami already has a good idea of what he is already as well, and they're just trying to wait to put him in. Because, like I said,
why trade for him in the first place? If you think, this
is Miami we're talking about.
If he's the guy that you think he is, and you don't want to start him week 1, what does that tell you about him, or what does that tell you about what you think about him? Why the hell do you even have him then?
Because the Miami Dolphins are the new Cleveland Browns.
Ouch.
Just saying.
Ouch.
Oh, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from Dolphins fans everywhere.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but realistically, when you look at it, the ownership and the GM have not been doing anything to help this franchise. The Dolphins have not truly been relevant in over 15 years. I don't feel that they are a team that's really going to be able to come out of this anytime soon as well. This is a team that's going to be below 500, I think, for at least the next 3 or 4 seasons if you don't have some type of miraculous turnaround somehow. It's just not happening. So, I mean, I feel at this point they're kind of just pitter-pattering around trying to do the best they can while trying to protect what could eventually be something good for them. But,
maybe.
Who knows? But one thing we do have to look at is that the Oakland Raiders ended up making a big move. They ended up going ahead and moving on from veteran linebacker Brandon Marshall. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a bit of a shock to a lot of people, the fact that they brought him in the offseason. He started 63 games in Denver over his career there. He was thought to be brought in as a kind of a veteran locker room guy, and it's kind of a bit of a shock. I mean, I'm not sure what was going on, what transpired in that locker room, but don't know if it's injury. Maybe he can't stay healthy. What
could be? Maybe he lost a step.
Maybe. I'm not sure, but kind of a shocking step, especially when you look at how how much of a need they have on defense at that position.
I was about to say at that position in particular because they've been hurting.
Yeah, ever since they got rid of this Khalil Mack guy.
Yeah, Khalil Mack.
Weird. Their pass rush goes away when they got rid of the best pass rusher in the game.
Yeah, get rid of the best defensive pass rusher, and your defense goes to crap. I think there's a link there. Maybe Oakland doesn't.
There might be a connection.
I mean, they might be kind of distracted by the Antonio Brown saga. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But
maybe they have cold feet.
Bit of a shocking move. Another shocking move. Just happened this morning.
Oh, yes.
Buffalo Bills let go of Shady McCoy.
That's right. LaShawn McCoy has been released from the Buffalo Bills after having his career low year last year, where he only rushed, I believe, for 514 yards.
Yeah, 514.
Rushed for 514 last year's worst season yet. Very interesting. But at this point, LaShawn McCoy is 31 years old. Do we see him possibly retire? Do we see him try to get on with another team? Because at this point, he's not going to be a starter, I think.
So I think he's going to end up being a guy that will go to, I think he'll go to a contender, to somebody that needs a change of pace back, stop. You picked up Jordan Howard for a reason. You got guys that you like.
And we went and got Deshaun Jackson too. We're trying to get the team back together.
I guess. But get the band back together. That's actually not a bad idea. Shady McCoy loves Philly.
He really does. And honestly, if you think of the type of offense we run, we like to have those run pass catcher type of players. He fits right back into that perfectly. And you could probably get him at a discount.
That's possible. I'm trying to see if there's any move.
Call me Philly. We'll make things happen.
I'm trying to see if there's any movement as far as like where he might be going or any rumors, but
I think with how fresh it is, I think with how fresh it is, I don't think we're going to see anything really.
Even usually, somebody like Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter have an idea of like, hey, he's thinking about going to these teams.
Yeah, but Ian Rappaport has literally like a noose just tied around every team's neck, just ready to yank it when he needs info.
Gee, it's a weird reference.
I don't know. I think it works. Gets their attention, right?
Sure.
Seahawks. Ha! You traded Clowney?
I guess.
You got Clowney?
But Shady McCoy, I think he could be a good change of pace back. He'll be another guy. I think you're right. He may not be a starter somewhere, but I think he goes to a contender, and I think he makes that decision within the next couple days, because, I mean, you've got less than a week until week one officially kicks off on Thursday.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be crazy. But one thing we're going to do is we're going to switch gears and look at some of the preseason headlines for week 4. Not a whole lot going on this week just because a lot of teams are really just trying to find the last pieces of the roster. So a lot of starters didn't even play. I think really the most notable news is Demaryius Thomas came out and actually played.
Yeah, played well. 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Played well.
But we're going to give a brief overview of some of these games. The Minnesota Vikings traveled to the Buffalo Bills, ended up losing that game, to Buffalo, 27-23. We don't see Buffalo win very often, but still, not really anything else outside of LaShawn McCoy being released by the Bills that's of anything of note. The Indianapolis Colts, though, ended up going into Cincinnati and beating Cincinnati 13-6. With the Colts now, they're trying to get Jacoby Brissett ready, or Jacoby Brissett, however you want to pronounce it, until they're able to find some type of answer if he is not the guy. Can't forget that Brock Osweiler did visit with the Colts, so something might happen there.
They're really high on Jacoby Brissett, though. I think they, with the way that their team is set up and they actually have a decently solid defense now, they still have aspirations of competing for the division. But when you lose a guy like Andrew Luck, you're going to take a step back.
And the big thing is the Colts did play Philip Walker a lot in this game, which was their third string, now going to be suspectedly their second string quarterback. So we think they might be moving along with Brissett at that point. So looking at my Philadelphia Eagles, who traveled to the New York Jets. Again, this was not anything big. We're really just getting ready for the season. We already know what we have in Josh McCown and Carson Wentz. So Philadelphia ended up losing this one 6-0 to the Jets. With the Eagles, though, they ended up releasing Cody Kessler after this game. So they're definitely trimming the fat at that point. Looking at some of the other games, though, the Pittsburgh Steelers went on the road to Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers, ended up dropping that game 25-19 to the Panthers, while the Panthers are still showing that they have no quarterback play whatsoever and are going to be hurting if Cam Newton were to go down. Yeah,
if Cam Newton is still struggling with his injuries, Carolina's really going to struggle, and that reflects in the 2.0 predictions here. Atlanta plays at Jacksonville. Atlanta wins 31-12. Out of that game, you're looking at guys that are maybe trying to make the roster. Jacksonville, you're just looking for offensive production.
Yes,
there's a lot of talk that D.D. Westbrook might have a breakout year because him and Foles have been They've been doing well together, man.
And you're going to have to watch out for that, especially if good old St. Nick decides to rear his head and start winning some games. But you have your Detroit Lions on the road at the Cleveland Browns, and I'm sorry, your Lions lost 20-16.
Hey, but fun fact, real quick. The year we went 0-16, we were 4-0 in the preseason. This year, we are 0-4 in the preseason. Not saying, but I'm saying. Not saying, but I'm saying. We went 4-0 in the preseason that year, went 0-16. This year, 0-4 in the preseason. Just saying. NFC crown, here we go.
Stop.
Hey, I mean.
Maybe go trade for a better quarterback.
Whoa, timeout, sir. Those are fighting words.
It's okay. We can go fighting Irish it out in the parking lot. All right, so the New York Giants went on the road to play the New England Patriots. Ended up taking that one 31-29. Not a whole lot from this game. Danny Dimes did actually see some action, though, in this one. Threw some pretty decent-looking passes, but no Tom Brady to speak of either.
Would you start Danny Dimes week 1 instead of Eli Manning?
Yes. And it's only because I don't feel Eli Manning honestly has the arm anymore than that. Father Time has really caught up with him. And it's not that I'm trying to be mean about it. It's just Eli Manning's been in the league for a long time. I think he's lost a step at this point, and I don't think he's a guy who's going to really help you be able to win games. And I don't think he should be holding back the younger buck who needs to step in and start cementing his legacy.
I think I completely agree with you. I think that Eli is a great veteran there still. But, I mean, look at that young team that you have there now. On offense, you got Saquon Barkley, and then you've got Evan Ingram at tight end. You got Sterling Shepard out there at receiver. You got a bunch of young guys on that offense. Why not give that young quarterback a chance to go through growing pains? You know you're going to have a struggling season, but hey, if he comes out, lights it on fire like he has in the preseason, yo, watch out. Watch out for the Giants. Big Blue.
Oof, I can't believe I'm going to say it. I'd have to agree to a certain extent. Oh, that tasted nasty coming out of my mouth.
I would not be... Dude, I would laugh so hard if they started Daniel Jones week 1, which they're not going to. But if they start Daniel Jones week 1 and they upset Dallas in week 1, man, do you know how crazy the media is going to be?
Oh, they'll lose their minds. Absolutely lose their minds. But we'll definitely see how all that works out. But looking at some of our other games, though, we did have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to the Washington Redskins. Ravens ended up taking that one 20-7. Ravens at this point are just making sure that their offense is humming how they want and trying to make sure that they have a little bit of depth in the running game behind Mark Ingram. While the Redskins, though, are, I think, just hoping quarterback play can just be there for them at this point. A lot of them have been looking kind of so-so. Cole McCoy, I don't think, is going to end up being your week 1 starter, but we'll end up seeing what happens there. But looking at some of the other ones, the Tennessee Titans went to the Chicago Bears, ended up taking that one 19-15. Chicago's really just trying to rest all their starters and find the men to really just fill out the roster, especially at running back. David Montgomery's been insane for them, so they've been loving that with him coming in as their draftee from this past draft.
Dark horse starting running back for them, I think, by the end of the year. Tariq Cohen's a great change of pace back. I think David Montgomery's going to take over the starting role at some point.
I have to agree just with how physical he is. It's going to be a matter of time. Tennessee, on the other hand, though, are just really trying to make sure their offense is going to be an offense because they've been having all kinds of struggles throughout the preseason so far. But we'll definitely see what they've been able to take. They were able to take this one in preseason, but we know it all changes once you hit the regular season.
Yeah, if Mariota can turn around his career, really, if he can turn that around, Tennessee's got a good chance to make a push for that division this year. Especially with Indy dropping.
Most definitely.
Andrew Luck.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up going on the road to Dallas to play in Jerry World against the Dallas Cowboys. Ended up taking that one 17-15. Again, nothing really notable here. A lot of backups, third stringers trying to vie for positions on these teams. So not really too much going on. But looking at the next game, what do we got?
Looking at the Chiefs and the Packers, 27-20. Packers take this one. You're really looking at, from the Packers' perspective, you're just hoping that offense kind of hums the way you're expecting it to. First-year coach, Matt LaFleur there. You really need a bounce-back year. You improved your defense a lot. Rashawn Gary actually got hurt.
Yes,
I think it was week 3, not week 4. But he got hurt, I think, in week 3, so that's already kind of a little bit of a blow. The Kansas City Chiefs, you're Super Bowl or bust at this point. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're Super Bowl or bust for them.
I absolutely have to agree. And at this point, they're just really trying to make any kind of push they can. So the next game we had, those Miami Dolphins on the road, playing the New Orleans Saints in Louisiana, ended up taking that one 16-13. The Saints have a pretty cemented team at this point. So really, it's just trying to fill out the roster. Again, the Dolphins, though, are just finding fine traction. I think this was the game they actually found out that Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be their guy going into the season. So definitely see how that plays off once we hit week 1. But looking at the next game, the LA Rams went on the road to the Houston Texans, ended up taking this one pretty dominantly, 22-10. The Rams are pretty straightforward, honestly. Return a lot of the same team they had last year with a few subtractions here and there, but generally are the same team. So they already know what they're getting into there. For Houston, though, it's just finding that running back depth, being able to try and fill in for Lamar Miller and find the guy that's going to be the guy that's going to stand behind Duke Johnson. Yeah,
Duke Johnson, look for him to have a breakout year now, I think, especially with Lamar Miller going down. He's going to be the number 1 guy. No excuses anymore for Duke Johnson. You got to it's put up or shut up time in Houston.
Absolutely. And then looking at our next game, the Arizona Cardinals went on the road to the Denver Broncos, Mile High Stadium. Ended up dropping that game to the Broncos, 20-7. Denver, I know, is still trying to get acclimated with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco did not play in this game, though. We did see a lot of action from Drew Lock. Drew Lock ended up coming in and actually had a couple decent drives. And Arizona, though, I don't know what they're trying to look for right now. The offense has a little bit of holes here and there, but Kyler Murray, I think, is the focus, but Kyler Murray didn't really play much in this at all. So
as much as he shined in week 1, it's really good. I think week 1 of the preseason, you're really going to see, is he ready for the NFL? Mm-hmm. Week 1 against Detroit, that's going to be a tough game on both sides. But Denver, don't be surprised if they kind of surprise some people a little bit and have a little bit better of a season, because they've got. Yeah, Flacco is Flacco, but he's got somebody behind him now in John Elway that has confidence in him. He's not going to lose his job right away. Their defense is still good. You still got Chris Harris and Von Miller on that team.
That's true.
And, I mean, don't be surprised if Denver early in the season kind of surprises a few people.
Definitely. But the last game that we had on the slate was the Oakland Raiders at the Seattle Seahawks. Definitely was very, very interesting, and also still have the Chargers at San Francisco 49ers. Both of those games, very interesting games, but again, this is preseason. Nobody's really playing anybody, especially with these teams. A lot of these are already established teams. Obviously, Seattle just made the trade for Jadeveon Clowney, so they're not really going to be able to see him before they actually start the regular season.
Yeah, the one thing we're looking at here is the deadline of 4 p.m. Eastern for teams to get down to their 53-man roster. While we're on air, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more moves to be announced, more moves to be made, so we will break those as soon as those come in.
Most definitely. But we're going to switch gears here real quick, and we're going to start taking a look at some predictions, some NFL season predictions, and round out all the ones that we were releasing over the past month. I know we had a lot of crazy picks, but do know that we are going to be releasing the 2.0 picks as well to try and account for things like Andrew Luck retiring and teams cutting certain players. So
very, very quickly, Adam Schefter has just released that Dallas Cowboys and Zeke Elliott, the talks are intensifying, and they're looking to wrap up a new deal this weekend.
Ooh, so we could have Zeke ready for
Zeke Elliott could be ready for week 1.
Oh, he could be ready for week 1, which I had a feeling this could happen. I had a feeling that they would try to get this done quickly, and that the longest it might go is 3 weeks into the season.
Right.
But I definitely know Dallas would like to have this deal done first and foremost, because you don't want to leave everything to just a rookie running back like Tony Pollard. But then again, they did it with Zeke Elliott.
But as we're talking about our season predictions 1.0, we're getting into the 6 through 1 here, and then of course a bunch of stuff changed and we got more realistic with our picks, so we're gonna have season 2.0.
Yes, we will eventually.
So number 6, you had the LA Chargers at a whopping 14-2.
That's right.
14-2 at a number 6 team.
That's right. After going 12-4 last season, I put them at 14-2, feeling that this team is very complete on offense. However, Melvin Gordon and everything happening with him is going to affect these.
And Derwin James is out.
Yes, and Derwin James is now
on defense.
Yeah, so this will change going into the 2.0 ratings, but at this time I had them at number 6, going 14-2, really making some noise and getting themselves back into playoffs.
Yeah, I had Chicago Bears at 12-4, repeating the performance from last year. 2.0, I've completely changed my mind on them. I have them quite a bit lower, but that was for the first prediction here. Number 5, you have the Patriots again at 14-2.
That's right, at 14-2 after going 11-5 last year and winning the Super Bowl. I feel with New England also being able to get Josh Gordon back into the fold is going to be a huge boon. Of course, though, losing Gronkowski is going to be painful. They've already had other issues at tight end since we have made up some of these predictions. So this actually does change a little bit going into my 2.0, but not by much.
Yeah, Ben Watson also is not going to be available for the first couple of weeks, I think.
It's 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or
right?
4 weeks. So they're not even going to have a starting tight end. They're going to have to go to some of their really young guys to step in that role. I have the New Orleans Saints, who went 13-3 last year. I had them go 13-3 again this year at number 5. Again, my pick here takes a little bit of a hit because I think other teams in that division are going to play a little bit better.
Yep.
So I have them slightly down in 2.0. Number 4, LA Rams. You have them at 14-2.
A lot of 14-2s in my 1.0 predictions. Not as many in my next one, so definitely have to wait for those. But after going 13-3 last year and having a Super Bowl appearance, the LA Rams are primed to try and make a repeat run. This will be hampered a little bit now that you have Seattle picking up Jadeveon Clowney and a lot of teams that are really becoming competitive. So this does change going into my 2.0 rankings. But for these, 14-2 LA Rams. Who do you got?
My number 4, I have the LA Chargers, the other LA team. I had them going 13-3. Last year they went 12-4. This pick also takes a bit of a hit for the things that you already mentioned. Melvin Gordon is still yet to sign. They do like Austin Eckler and Jackson in their backfield, but losing Derwin James on defense does hurt them there. I think it does go a little bit lower than 13-3. Number 3, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, 14-2.
That's right. After going 12-4 last year and boasting the NFL MVP and Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs ended up losing a heartbreaker to the New England Patriots in the AFC title game. But I think they will rebound beautifully this year, going to 14-2, winning their division all the way to getting a first-round bye and the number 2 seed.
I have your Philadelphia Eagles. I had them going 14-2. Last year they went 9-7.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, they're not going 14-2. I for some reason was not thinking clearly while I was looking at that.
Maybe you were drinking while this was happening.
It's possible. I do like to have a few adult beverages while I'm doing some research. So, 14-2 is not happening. My picks completely change for the next one. Not going to happen. Number 2, you have the New Orleans Saints, 14-2.
That's right. New Orleans Saints going 14-2 after a 13-3 campaign last year that ended up ending for the second year in a row in heartbreaking fashion. I can't even get myself together. You got me so excited.
I see that.
The Eagles at 14-2. But the Saints, though, are bringing back a lot of their starters. Really, the only person they've lost is Mark Ingram. And I feel they can definitely make a push, especially with how controversial things ended last year. They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulders, so definitely watch out for the Saints to run it all the way to the NFC South title and the playoffs.
Number 2, I had the New England Patriots 14-2. Last year they went 11-5. Again, this pick changes. I do think they get improved on offense with Demaryius Thomas coming back. They have other players. Oh, N'Keal Harry is the rookie in there. I think their offense does hum, but I think everyone predicts them to be 13, 14 wins, 12 wins, but they always end up about 10 or 11 wins. So my prediction here, they drop a few games more. Number 1.
Before we hit number 1, though, just a quick update. Ohio State is currently leading Florida Atlantic 28-0 at the end at the quarter.
Nobody cares. What's your number 1?
Just want to let you know about the Ohio State.
Nobody cares. What's your number 1?
My number 1 is my Philadelphia Eagles,
Shocker.
who I have projected going 15-1.
Shocker.
Which in the 2.0, I am a little bit more realistic about. I do promise you.
Oh, thank God.
After going 9-7 last year and making a great run with Old St. Nick, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to make it to 15-1 on the great arm of Carson Wentz in the great running game behind Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders.
Until Carson Wentz gets hurt. My number 1 is going to be the LA Rams. Number 1, the LA Rams. I have them going 15-1 this year. Last year they went 13-3. I think this takes a drastic hit in my 2.0 predictions just because this division, they're not going to surprise anybody anymore. Seattle gets better. San Francisco gets better. Mm-hmm. And I think they're not going to catch anyone by surprise like they did last year. And they lost a few pieces on that defense.
They did.
They do get Cooper Kupp back, but they lost some pieces on the defense.
And getting Cooper Kupp back is going to be a huge boon for them. But that's our 2019 NFL season predictions 1.0 in entirety. To be able to see all the graphics that we posted, just make sure that you follow us on social media. All you have to do is go on to Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at PCN FinalScore. Give us a like, give us a follow. Check out all the great things that we have on there. But just know that we have the NFL season predictions for the 2019 season 2.0.
2.0 upgraded.
2.0
bigger and
upgraded. Better. Yes, definitely. We're going to talk about those now. And then you'll be able to also see all the graphics that we're also going to post later on all of our social media accounts that we just listed earlier. So definitely make sure that you check them out. What do you got?
Which division are we starting with?
Oh, we're going to start NFC.
You want to start in the NFC? Okay. Let me bring these up here because I don't have the graphic that you have. I got to bring mine up. 2.0 NFC North. Do we start with the North?
Yeah, follow down the list.
Okay, sure. We're going with the NFC North. So I have Green Bay Packers taking this division. I have them at 10-6. Then the Chicago's going 9-7. Huge change from what I had from the first time to the second time. I actually only had the Green Bay Packers winning like 6 or 7 games the first time around. Changing my tune a little bit here. Detroit still got them going 8-8.
Of course you do.
I have a couple of games going differently though, but they still end up going 8-8.
But they went 0-4 in the preseason.
So I know that realistically that means they're going to go 16-0. That's fine.
Well, see, now that you spoke it, it's not going to happen. Got him.
Damn it. Damn it. Okay, and then I have Minnesota at 7-9 here. I think Minnesota, they have a solid defense. Mm-hmm. Their problem is you're going to be hinging your team on Kirk Cousins. Everything's on Kirk Cousins. It's up to him to get that offense where it needs to go. Getting Dalvin Cook back helps. But I think they have a tough schedule. I think they end up, Kirk Cousins shows you exactly who everyone knows he is. He was in Washington, wasn't winning you games, but he was doing okay. Mm-hmm. He was doing okay. So I think Minnesota falls the bottom of that division. Detroit makes a huge leap, get 8-8. Chicago, Mitch Trubisky struggles. No rush game outside of, okay, maybe Montgomery plays well, Tariq Cohen, okay, whatever. They still don't have a lot of great receivers. The defense is not going to be as good as they were last year.
Right.
So I have them going 9-7. And Green Bay storming back and having a much better year. First year under Matt LaFleur. They improved a lot on their defense. Devontae Adams is still a beast.
Yes.
They still have Aaron Jones at running back who needs to improve. But you got Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. I think this is a bounce back year for the Packers. They go 10-6.
Absolutely. With my NFC North rankings, I also have the Green Bay Packers 10-6 and winning the division as well. I think that this is definitely a prime year for Aaron Rodgers to have a bounce back and be able to show why he was not only a Super Bowl champion but an MVP at one point, and why he is who he is, because Aaron Rodgers still is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Just been having a lot of things happen to his receiving core, to himself. So it's been a lot of change in Green Bay, but definitely look for them to come out swinging. Chicago Bears, though, I have falling to 8-8. I think that's the best they can do. In my other prediction, I think I have them going only 9-7.
9-7.
So not too much better for Chicago, and a lot of it's going to be because of the fact that Mitchell Trubisky is not a franchise quarterback. So definitely see him to have a bad year. The defense will still be there, and it's going to be the reason they win a lot of these games, but 8-8 is going to be the best for the Chicago Bears. But right ahead of them also is going to be the Minnesota Vikings, 9-7. Have these a little out of order, don't mind me. Had my own adult beverages while making these.
I see that.
So the Minnesota Vikings will be number 2 at 9-7. Again, Kirk Cousins is going to be the hinge of the offense, like you said. Everything is going to come down to him because they're going to have a good running game. They're going to have a good defense. But if Kirk Cousins can't get the ball where it needs to go, they're not going to win games. So look at them really to stumble to a 9-7 tilt. And then your Detroit Lions, I was a little nicer this time around. They are at the bottom of the division, but 7-9. I give them 7-9.
Okay, that's respectable. You had them going 3-13 last time.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better now with some of the moves that you guys have made and with certain contributors been able to show what they have, right, especially in the running game. So I think the Lions might be able to get there. And, Matthew Stafford isn't as washed up looking as I've initially thought him to be. Didn't look too bad, but he's still pretty washed up. But anyways, he's only week-old laundry, not 3-week-old laundry now.
Ooh.
So
week-old laundry.
Ooh, week-old laundry. Smelly.
Yikes. All right, moving on. NFC East. I have the Philadelphia Eagles still taking the division. The first time around, I had them going 14-2. I've a little bit more realistic, 11-5.
That's respectable.
11-5, win the division. Dallas is nipping at their heels at 10-6. Dallas nips at their heels at 10-6. Washington goes 6-10. Because Washington goes 6-10 because they have, I think they're going to have one of the best rushing tandems in the league this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, Geis and Peterson.
Peterson. They got a third guy.
And Chris Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah, that was the third one. Thompson. And they still have a decent defense. They have a decent offensive line. It's not great. But Case Keenum, he's going to get benched in the first couple weeks. I think Dwayne Haskins plays somewhat well. And they win. They go 6-10. Respectable year for them this year. Bad. And then the New York Giants bring up the rear at 4-12. I think they have a few games that are shocking to people where they'll like, wow, they won that game. But I think this year is an evaluation year. I think Danny Jones plays Probably within the first 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they go 4-12, and they're just going to start building towards the future.
Well, for my NFC East 2.0 predictions, I do have the Philadelphia Eagles taking division, obviously. Not at 15-1, but at 14-2. So definitely still going to be a great year for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys, though, will also be nipping at their heels at 11-5. I actually have them doing a game better than my original predictions from 10-6, especially now that we're on the eve of the news that Ezekiel Elliott might be signed right before the season starts. So it definitely helps with that. I also have the Redskins going 6-10 for the same exact reason you do.
Mm-hmm.
Great running back tandem between Geis, Peterson, and Thompson. I think all three of them will be able to be great contributors. I feel that if one's not able to produce, another one will be able to step in and do it for them. And I think that's going to be a theme. And the same thing with the quarterbacks. Case Keenum is not going to be the answer. Case Keenum, I think, will be benched in the first 4 weeks. Colt McCoy, I think, will never see the field unless someone gets injured. And it's going to become the Dwayne Haskins show. And he's going to be able to showcase what he has and show why the Redskins made the right choice in picking them in the draft. And then rounding it all out, the New York Giants, I have going 2-14. I'm sorry, the Giants I don't think are going to be that good because I feel like they might try to stick with Eli longer than they should and put Danny Dimes in a bad situation at that point because honestly, you're kind of holding back his potential. So 2-14 is the best that they can pull off at that point.
Wow. Okay. I think you're right. I think they could stick with Eli a little bit too long. That's why I gave 6 weeks is kind of generous, really. But I think they should turn to Daniel Jones right away. I mean, why not? I mean, you've got nowhere to go but up at this point. NFC South, moving on to that division. This is going to be a really intense division with the top 2 teams. I have the New Orleans Saints still taking this division. 1.0, I had them going 13-3. This time I got them 11-5. I think they lose a couple other games. I think they split with Atlanta. I think they split with Tampa Bay.
Wow.
I think they split with Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay has a great offense. Terrible defense, but a great offense. They're going to be throwing a lot in the game, and they always play New Orleans tough.
That's
so I think they split. But they go 11-5. They still go 4-2 in their own division. Atlanta ties them at 11-5, but because of tiebreakers, Atlanta gets a wild card berth here. Again, they're much more improved. Defense is finally healthy. They still have Matt Ryan, Devontae Freeman. You've still got who's their tight end? Austin Hooper. You still got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. You still got a lot of weapons on that team. Mohamed Sanu. I think they go 11-5. They compete with New Orleans, but they just miss out in the division, but they make the playoffs. Tampa Bay, I just talked about them. Terrible defense, but it's a Bruce Arians team. It's a make or break year for Jameis Winston. And you got guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside. I think their offense, you got OJ Howard and Cameron Brate at tight end. Their offense is going to score points. And looking at their schedule, honestly, they have a lot of games that's going to be high-scoring affairs. A lot of games are high-scoring affairs that they could potentially pull out. So I got them going 6-10, and that means Carolina 5-11. The first time around, I had them going 8-8, but with Cam Newton's injury, I really think they're going to struggle and not be consistent at quarterback. They're going to have a decent run offense, but Christian McCaffrey, they're going to load the box on him if Cam Newton's not in that game. I think they're going to struggle, and they're going to go 5-11.
Man, very interesting. Very interesting. Look at my NFC South. I have the New Orleans Saints taking the entire division at 14-2. I feel that the Saints are going to play with such a chip on their shoulder that they are going to run things ragged. And because while I feel the Falcons are really going to be the only type of opposition they're going to have in their division, I don't think Tampa's going to be that good, and I think they're going to sweep Tampa. I also don't think Carolina's going to be good, and they're going to sweep Carolina too. And it's because while Tampa, I do agree, does have a better offense than they do a defense, Jameis Winston, you still never know what you're going to get from him from game to game, and I think that's going to end up being their Achilles heel.
Right.
So while I have the Saints taking this one 14-2, the Falcons are going to be right on their tail though, 12-4. This is going to be a better year for the Falcons, especially because Julio Jones is going to be playing great. They're going to have a decent little run game going, and their defense is much improved from last year. So definitely look for the Falcons to bounce back and try and get into that Super Bowl form they did when they made that run to Super Bowl 51. Now, looking at number 3, though, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks at 5-11. I think that's the best that they can do, really, with Jameis Winston at quarterback. I honestly feel that after the season, I think it's time to move on from Jameis.
I think they should have done it last year already.
Oh, I agree as well, but obviously that's not happening. So Tampa, I think this will be the final year for Jameis Winston. They will move on, probably going into next year, maybe try and get themselves a quarterback in the draft. Maybe they're going to be hashtag tanking for Tua. Who knows? But at the end of the day, that's the best they're going to muster. And Carolina's going to be right behind them at 4-12, just because I think Cam Newton's going to end up going down. I think these injuries are going to be more serious than what people are thinking. And I think it's going to end up pulling him from some games, which means you're going to be leaving the show to Will Grier. And I don't think Will Grier is going to be able to get it done, at least not at this point. I think he could be a good quarterback at some point, a manageable quarterback, a decent backup. But he's not going to be a guy that can be a starter, especially at this point in his career where he's just starting out. So a lot of everything's going to fall on Christian McCaffrey. And like you said, defenses are going to load the box for him, and it's going to end up muddling down this offense to almost nothing. So definitely look at them to end up being 4-12.
All right, NFC West. Moving on there, I still have the Rams taking this division. Last at 1.0, I had them going 15-1. I had it going Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. 15, 9, 7, and 2 wins respectively. This time it's I'll change my tune quite a bit. The Rams only 11-5. Again, I think that they are going to have a lot of tough games. I think they're going to do well at home, but I have them going only 3-5 on the road. So all 5 of their losses could be on the road there in for LA, and you're not going to catch anyone by surprise. But they're still going to win the division and actually get a first-round bye because of tiebreakers. Number 2, I had the 49ers at 9-7. I might flip-flop this because of this Clowney trade to Seattle. I had Seattle in 2.0 going 8-8. I think by them being in the mix, they're still going to be around 8 to 10 wins, somewhere in there. But I have, at this point, 2.0, the 49ers going 9-7, much improved from last year. Seattle, 8-8, dropping down a couple games. And the Cardinals, I still have them at 3 wins, 3-13.
Yeah, looking at my NFC West, I have the LA Rams taking this division at 13-3. I feel they are a very good, well-rounded team. However, with the Jadeveon Clowney trade, I think things will change because I did have Seattle Seahawks in my 1.0 and in my 2.0 at 10-6. However, I feel they might even be able to improve upon that, maybe push to 11-5, maybe make playoffs.
Careful,
but
that's risky.
That's why I put 10-6. Thank you, sir. So at the end of the day, I think they definitely are capable of 10-6. But with how my playoffs work out, they still miss playoffs. So, I mean, it hurts. Sorry, but that's how it is. San Francisco 49ers coming at the 3 spot, though, at 5-11. I feel Jimmy G is still having issues after recovering from his ACL injury last season. So I don't think this offense is going to quite hum like it should. So they're going to end up relying a lot on the running game, which they do have a nice monster with that, but they ended up losing one of their running backs for the season in Breida. So we'll definitely see how everything works out with that. And then the Arizona Cardinals, I also still have at 3 wins. I feel this is going to be a learning year for Kyler Murray. They're going to be trying to get their defense back into form. They're going to be trying to find weapons that fit with Kyler Murray. They did eventually finally sign Michael Crabtree. So it is a decent little addition. But when you have Crabtree on one side and Larry Fitz on the other, you can only do so much with that. So we'll definitely see what they can do. But I think they're going to stumble all the way to last place in the NFC West.
All right, moving over to the AFC. We'll start with the AFC North. First time around in 1.0, I had the Browns taking the division at 12-4, Steelers 11-5, Baltimore 9-7, Bengals at 2-14. Slightly different, changing my tune a little bit this time around. Steelers and the Browns I have tied at 10-6 at the division. Tied at 10-6.
Interesting.
I think this is a very hotly contested division. The Steelers are going to play a lot better than, like I said a couple weeks ago, addition by subtraction.
Right.
A lot better. Juju Smith-Schuster, let me say it correctly. James Conner, those kind of guys. Devin Bush has been looking really good at linebacker in the preseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's something they've been missing since Ryan Shazier's injury.
They definitely have.
Cleveland Browns 10-6. I think that they're going to stumble out the gate. So just name some of the games that they have right away. Some of the games they have right away. They have some big time. They have some big time division matchups early on. I think they lose against the Rams right away. I think they lose on the road to 49ers because it's traveling West Coast. They lose the Patriots, and I think at the end of the year, I think they split with Cincinnati. Now that's a weird one, but every year there's always a couple weeks where teams have letdown games. And I think in that stretch, they had just come off beating the Steelers, or they had just come off losing to the Steelers on the road. I think they go on a little 2-game losing streak in there. But I think they stumble, but they get to 10-6. They make the playoffs. Baltimore, 7-9. I changed this one a little bit. The offense is going to be good-ish because you still have to rely on Lamar Jackson being the thrower. You know the runner's going to be there. And with him and Ingram in the backfield, they'll be good. But it's the throwing that concerns me. They have a lot of young guys. They're young, unproven guys that are going to be starting. You did bring in Earl Thomas, but you lost a lot of guys on the defensive front seven. So I think they stumbled to 7-9, missed the playoffs. Cincinnati, 4-12. They're going to win a couple games here and there. I think they play the Giants this season. Like that's one of their wins kind of thing. So they're going to stumble to 4-12. It's a rebuilding year for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. For my AFC North, I do have the Cleveland Browns still there at 12-4. I think Cleveland really can do it. And with the type of swagger they have, the type of talent they have, I think this is going to be the class of the AFC North just because the Ravens, yes, are a good team, but they're not a great team. And I don't think that they have anything that's anything more special than what the Browns have. Same thing with the Steelers. Yes, they've been making great strides. Devin Bush has been killing it at middle linebacker for them. They've been able to have Juju Smith-Schuster play great. James Conner play great. They even drafted Benny Snell Jr. out of Kentucky. He's been playing decent. But
James Washington at receiver.
Yeah, James Washington at receiver has been playing well. But I still don't think the Steelers are going to have everything. Now, I do have them doing a lot better than they did in my original predictions, but still not doing as great. So looking at it, Cleveland Browns 12-4. They're going to be the ones to take it. Baltimore Ravens are going to end up going 9-7 and will miss playoffs very narrowly. But I think this is a team that is still building towards the future, in my opinion, because they don't have all the pieces in place that they need to be able to make the kind of run they want. Following them up, though, will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had them 5-11 in my original rankings. 7-9 this time around.
Okay.
I think they'll be a lot more competitive and been able to show that they can hang in games, but I don't think they're going to be able to finish games out, and that's going to end up being their big Achilles heel. And then rounding out the whole division, Cincinnati Bengals, originally I had going 4-12. They're going to do worse, 3-13.
Ooh.
I don't think Cincinnati has anything that they need to be able to make the kind of run that they need. They've been having injuries concerns. The only bright spot is they found a couple tight ends that might be able to actually play ball for them, but beyond that, you still have Andy Dalton throwing it and A.J. Green out probably for most of the year, so this is going to be a lost season for them.
All right, moving on to the AFC East. We got the Patriots, Jets, Bills, Dolphins. First time around, I had the Patriots at 14-2, Jets 8-8, Bills 5-11, and the Dolphins at a measly 1-15. This time around, changing it yet again. I had the Patriots winning at 11-5. So I have them going what they did last year, 11-5. You know the Patriots, you know what you're going to get out of them. They're not going to be overbearing on offense like they did when they had like Randy Moss and stuff like that. But they do have, they do still have a decent offense. They bring a lot of starters back on defense. And that team won 11-5. I think they also go 11-5 here. Jets, 9 wins, 9-7. I think they're going to be much improved with Sam Darnold playing in his second year. You're hopefully going to see that offense take a step forward, especially with Le'Veon Bell there. Brought a lot of pieces in on defense. Buffalo, 7-9. They just can't get over the hump. They improved a lot. They had a really good offseason. I still think they have a tough schedule. I don't think they do better than 7-9. Maybe 8 or 9 wins if they're lucky. Dolphins, 3-13. I brought them up a couple wins. 3-13 though. I think that's their ceiling. 3, maybe 4 wins is their ceiling.
Man, painful. But looking at it, I had the New England Patriots taking this division, dropping to 13-3. Whew. I'm sure I had
3-13.
I'm sure I had a bunch of Patriots fans just
panic,
ready to start sending me that hate mail. No, 13-3. Tom Brady will have a good year. Josh Gordon, I think, is going to be honestly one of these big catalysts. He's going to be a huge part of the passing game, and a lot of people are kind of sleeping on it because they always think, "Oh, Edelman's been that guy." But honestly, think about it. Amendola's gone. Gronk's gone. You really don't have anything at tight end anymore. So now you're going to start getting the ball downfield. Who's the fastest and best receiver to get down there for you? Josh Gordon. And he's going to be the guy who's going to be hauling in those rocks like it's 2007 Randy Moss all over again. So just wait and see because he's going to have a big year. Looking at the next spot, the New York Jets I have going 9-7, are going to have a nice little year and back themselves all the way into a 6th seed for the AFC playoffs. So definitely watch out for the Jets. Sam Darnold's definitely been coming along, and the great additions they've made at running back across their defense, especially picking up Quinnen Williams in the draft. I think the Jets really are primed to take that next step and at least show that they are relevant again. And hey, you got to show off the new unis in the new year, right? So make playoffs. Let's see what happens.
See what happens.
And then we have Where am I at here? I'm totally lost. I got so excited with the Jets.
You're in the
uniforms.
AFC East.
The AFC East. Here we are.
You're worried about interacting with people on Facebook Live.
I'm
right
doing
now.
too many things right now.
I see you over there.
It's because of things I'm writing about you. So
I know you're horrible. You're a horrible man. I hate you.
The Miami Dolphins though are going to stumble to 4-12. This is really going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick's show to start out, but I think he will lose it quickly to Josh Rosen as they prep Josh Rosen to know what to do with him in this offense. So 4-12 and hashtag possibly tanking for Tua. Who knows? And then Buffalo Bills are going to round it all out 3-13. They do have a good defense. Yes, 3-13. They have a great defense, but the offense is not going to be there. Now they've let go of LaShawn McCoy, who honestly probably was the best part of their running game. I don't think they have much honestly behind that, in my opinion.
500 yards last year is the epitome of their rush game. They got better running backs than that.
I mean, they probably do. I mean, especially with Frank Gore being there now, but...
Well, you got, I don't know. I think they made way too many improvements on their offensive line to go 3-13.
Yeah, but
and they still had a solid defense. Josh Allen again the second year. You don't know what you're getting out of him. I get that. They improved in the pass game. They went out and got receivers. Cole Beasley's going to be there.
Cole Beasley was a nice addition.
Cole Beasley's going to be a nice improvement. They still have other receivers there. Still got 3-13 is a really bold prediction, sir.
Only because, Cotton, is because I have no faith in it. So we'll see how bold that prediction is.
All right. Moving on to the AFC South. This, I think, again, one of the other divisions that's going to be so very hotly contested all the way down to the final week. I have the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars tied at 10-6 in this division.
Interesting.
10-6. Houston, yes, they did lose Clowney, but they wanted him out anyway. They still have the pass rush, and they still have
only.
They still have the defense that can help carry them. What you're really looking forward to, if you're the Texans, what's going to help them win the division is the play of Deshaun Watson. Can you keep him upright? Can you keep him healthy? You brought in left tackle that you drafted in the first round. Hopefully you're bringing in some other pieces that help on the offensive line. But Duke Johnson also has to step up and play well. You know what you're getting out of D-Hop out there on the edge.
Oh, definitely.
So I think the Houston Texans go 10-6. They win the division, make the playoffs. Jags 10-6, very much improved from 5-11 last year. I'm a little worried though. Outside of D.D. Westbrook, there is no one on this offense, and that is why I think they might still struggle. Defense is still good, but you're getting to the end of the point where people are going to start leaving. Contracts are coming up. That defense is not going to be what it was 2 years ago. So you really have to hope that offense steps up. But I think at 10-6, the Jags miss the playoffs.
Ooh,
10-6, the Jags miss the playoffs. And then at the bottom of the division, both the Titans and the Colts go 5-11 for separate reasons. But I think both of them, they have very tough schedules. This division is going to be very tough. Tennessee, they're hoping to improve. It's going to revolve around Marcus Mariota and or Ryan Tannehill. That's going to be the linchpin for that team. Indianapolis Colts, quarterback again, is going to be the linchpin of how their season goes. I think both of those teams fall to 5-11.
Definitely going to be interesting. Look at my AFC South. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning this division at 10-6. Not quite as good as I originally had them predicted with 11-5. But this division is going to be contested mainly between them and the Texans, who I have at number 2 at 9-7 and narrowly missing playoffs. The Texans are improved in some ways, but I feel that given injuries and the fact that you're still breaking in a newish quarterback, that they're not quite ready to make that next step, especially seeing how you have good old St. Nick in Jacksonville right now. That's really going to hurt them, but the Texans will be great in division just because the Titans, who have at number 3, are going to be 4-12. I think that Tennessee has completely failed Marcus Mariota to this point and not being able to give him not only the proper protection but the right weapons around him. Derrick Henry coming off and being a great running back wasn't something that necessarily everybody expected but had hoped for. But the passing game, what do you have? You have Delaney Walker at tight end, who spent most of the last season injured, who's entering his 15th year, and I don't think is really going to be that great of a contributor this year. He might start out a little decent, but I think he's going to fade out like he does every season for the past 3 years. But Humphreys is probably going to be your leading receiver, but it's still not going to be enough, I think, to take the pressure off of Mariota. You're probably going to end up seeing Mariota having to come out for Ryan Tannehill at some point, and I think all this is going to end up leading them to a 4-12 record. But the Colts are going to have the biggest setback. I had them predicted at 8-8 with Andrew Luck. Without Andrew Luck,
wow.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
2-14.
Yeah, oh, dude, get out of here.
2-14.
Get out of here.
I don't think the running game is going to get going, and Jacoby Brissett, I think, is great behind Tom Brady. But Jacoby Brissett, I don't think is a quarterback really who's at the caliber to be a every game starting franchise quarterback. I think he could be a decent-ish game manager, but only if you have the right type of running game and other assets around you to have a productive offense to take the pressure off him to let him be a game manager. So I feel they're really going to have a lot of problems at the quarterback position, namely throughout this season, and are going to stumble to a 2-14 record.
Yikes. Don't forget about my
harsh in my mellow.
Don't forget about my boy Corey Davis there in Tennessee. He's got to have a bit of a step up year at the receiver spot, but I think usually it takes receivers a couple years as far as route running, getting used to the physicality of it
and timing.
I think he takes a step up, but I agree. I think Tennessee is going to struggle. They're really going to struggle. You got to have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Clearly, Marcus Mariota hasn't worked. Ryan Tannehill's never proven to be a good quarterback anyway.
True.
So I think Tennessee is going to fall. They're going to be looking for a quarterback, just as you mentioned. Maybe not necessarily, as you say, tanking for Tua, but I think they're going to try to look for one of those new quarterback prospects next year. AFC West, the last one we're looking at. I have the Kansas City Chiefs taking this division at 13-3. 1.0, I had the Chargers taking it at 13-3. 2.0, I got the Chiefs at 13-3. I honestly looked at their schedule and tried to find games that they could lose. And it was tough. It was tough to try to find games that they honestly could lose. And I think their defense is what's going to be their Achilles heel, but not till the playoffs.
Yes,
so I
agree.
think they end up having the best record in the NFL at 13-3. And then right behind them, the Chargers at 12-4. I think they will take the wild card spot, be 12-4. But again, I looked at their schedule. Even with Melvin Gordon out, I think they'll have a decent enough offense in losing Derwin James. I tried to find games for them to lose and go maybe 10-6. Couldn't find it. 12-4 is my prediction there. Oakland Raiders, I have them actually improving quite a bit. I had them going 5-11. One more win, 6-10. But this all depends on, is Antonio Brown there? Is he engaged? Is he all in? Does that offense play well? Broncos, 5-11. I had them going 2-14 in my first prediction. 5-11, they get a couple more wins. I think they're a much tougher out than a 2-14 team. They're going to have a couple of surprise wins maybe early in the year, but eventually Joe Flacco and that offense, if they stay stagnant, 5-11 is pretty realistic.
Looking at my AFC West, originally I had the Kansas City Chiefs going 14-2 and tying atop with the Chargers, also going 14-2 for that division. A little bit different now, though. At least for the Chargers, I still have the Kansas City Chiefs going 14-2, 5-1 in their division, splitting with the Chargers. I think that this offense is just way too nasty. Even with Kareem Hunt being lost and gone to Cleveland, I think this offense is just too good with Patrick Mahomes. And you still have Travis Kelce. You're still going to have Tyreek Hill, who's not going to be suspended. I think you still have a lot of talent on this offense to be able to still be an extremely productive and probably the most productive offense in the league this year. So I agree as well, though, that defense is going to be their Achilles heel and could possibly drop this to more of a 13-3 team. But I just don't see it happening. I think 14-2 in the division lead and number 1 seed, first round bye, going to be good. So the LA Chargers, though, I had at originally 12-4, downgraded them to 11-5. I think the team's still talented enough without Melvin Gordon being there that they could still be able to win games, but I think it will affect them a little bit, make a couple games a little bit closer. They might lose one, like I have them here. So 11-5 and still making playoffs is still a great run. But Oakland Raiders, I had 8-8 in my original, now 7-9. I think the Antonio Brown saga is really going to be a huge distraction for the team and going to be one that is going to cause them to lose games because we saw what happened with Terrell Owens in Philadelphia with a quarterback spat on the sideline. I think we have the potential of that same kind of thing here because Derek Carr is not a quiet guy. If he feels like maybe you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, he's going to try and talk to you about it. And Antonio Brown is not the kind of guy I think is going to be receptive. So I do see a sideline spat probably at some point this season as they stumble to a 7-9 record. And the Denver Broncos, I originally had going 3-13 in my 1.0s. In the 2.0, I had them going 6-10.
Okay, quite a bit of improvement.
I think, honestly, with what they've been able to do so far and the fact that their defense is still kind of there, I think Denver is going to be able to hang in games. But, again, still 6-10. They're going to stumble out in the later part of the season and kind of fizzle out like they've done in a couple of past years. So I think Denver, though, is definitely going to be better than that 3-13, but 6-10 is about the best that they can do. But, man, been a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been crazy.
So I wanted to throw this in, and I forgot I was going to throw this into the outline here, but there's a fun little stat.
Fun stat.
There's a fun little stat that I wanted to point out, and This stat is every year for the past, what was it, since 1990, every year since 1990, at least 4 teams miss the postseason the following year.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, the playoff teams were Cowboys, Saints, Bears, Rams, Seahawks, Eagles. In the AFC, Pats, Chargers, Chiefs, Texans, Colts, Ravens. Who is most likely of the 4? Who of these teams is most likely to miss the postseason this year?
Say it one more time.
So here's the thing. So we've got Cowboys, Saints, Bears, Rams, Eagles. So of those teams, do you think any of those teams could fall out of the playoffs?
Chicago has the potential just because the offense is pretty much figured out at this point.
Okay.
Seattle, I would, before the Jadeveon Clowney trade, I would have probably put in this. But honestly, it's really hard to try and keep them out at this point. But it's really, I would have to probably say Chicago. Dallas, especially them getting Zeke back, I think are going to make a run at this point.
Right.
So I'd really probably say Chicago, maybe Seattle out of the NFC teams.
Okay. In the West, the AFC, you have the Pats, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Texans, Colts, and Ravens.
Honestly, I'd have to say definitely the Colts.
Yep.
You lost Andrew Luck. You're already out of playoffs.
I can see that one.
I don't see that happening at all. Beyond that, though, Houston and Baltimore will be the other two. The other 3 I think will make it in. But Houston and Baltimore are both in a position where you're entering a second year, like especially with Lamar Jackson. He's still trying to learn this offense. You still have Deshaun Watson in Houston. And there's a lot of things going on. You lost Lamar Miller in Houston. You had making the big trade for Duke Johnson. A lot of things going on there. So if they aren't able to overcome these types of adversity, there are teams that are very, very strong potential to miss the playoffs entirely. And I do have Houston missing the playoffs already, as well as Baltimore. So we'll have to see how it works out.
I think so. Here, that I bring up that little fun fact because there's another one.
He has more fun facts.
More fun facts. So the preseason matters, and here's why. Since 2008, no team with a losing record in the preseason has gone on to win a Super Bowl. Here's a list of the teams that have not had a winning record in the preseason. All teams that I'm about to list have losing records in the preseason. The Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, Colts, Texans, Bears, your Eagles, Jags, Bengals, Falcons, Cardinals, Redskins, and Lions. So, based on that logic and coupling it with the last year playoff teams, here are your teams left that have made the playoffs last year that could still, based on stats, win the Super Bowl. Cowboys, Saints, Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, and Ravens.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So, of course, on that team, I had the Falcons making the postseason. They would be out. The Packers would still be in this. Mm-hmm. Your Eagles would be out. The Browns are still in this. The Steelers are still in this. So a lot of my new playoff teams could still potentially win. But based on that, there's a lot of turnover that could potentially happen in the playoffs this year.
Definitely
so just little fun facts I thought you might want to take in. So I'm sorry. Our teams are not going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I think we already knew Detroit didn't have a chance.
Hey, 0-4 in the preseason, 16-0 in the regular season.
Stop.
It's going to happen. I'm just saying.
I mean, I guess crazier things have happened.
Things have happened. No, I think they don't do as bad as you think. But yeah, I think some of these teams.
Yeah, I said 7-9.
It's really interesting. Some of these teams that at least 4 teams missed the playoffs every year that made it the previous year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you think there's a hangover with the Rams, with the Super Bowl hangover? Part of the reason why I have them going 11-5 is I think they have a Super Bowl hangover.
That and there was a long time running where the team that lost the Super Bowl didn't even make playoffs the next year.
Right.
We saw that happen with Oakland, which pretty much started after they lost to Tampa Bay. They weren't able to make playoffs for a number of years. So I don't know. There's a number of things that can happen with that. But I don't know. That's going to be real interesting. It's something we're definitely going to have to readdress as the season goes on. But something that we definitely are going to have to address, though, is going to be our postseason predictions that we are going to release next week. So definitely make sure that you keep your eye out and join us next week for episode 27 when we come back and talk about the 2019 NFL postseason predictions and maybe some surprises for who's going to win the Super Bowl. Who knows? But definitely make sure, though, that you stay with us. We are going to cut the commercial real quick. But when we come back, we are going to talk about some crazy NBA news that have happened over the past few days, as well as bringing you the best of the week with Major League Baseball, as well as This Week in Sports History, Give or Go, and the week ahead. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/Sports Sanity Customs. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3Count Design for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score with Chris and Craig. Normally we don't take 2 commercials, but this episode's been so long we had to pay the light bill twice.
This is such an action-packed episode. It took us almost 2 hours to get through just NFL and college.
Right.
We might, if the demand is there, we might just have to have our own separate football podcast.
We might just have to do 2 episodes a week.
Just 2 episodes a week. I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with that. I'm sure the fans will be cool with that. Definitely leave us your comments. Let us know your thoughts on it in this video. But
my schedule would hate that, but it'd be cool.
Oh, my schedule would hate it too, especially with 4 kids. But anyways, we're going to move on to NBA news. And the first things first, Kobe Bryant made a number of comments recently while at a convention. And I was just utterly shocked by this. He was at the PHP agency convention in Las Vegas, and people were talking to him about just a lot of general things, and was asked about his time with Shaq in LA, and said that, quote, he could have effing 12 rings had Shaq actually went to the gym and not been lazy.
Of course he's exaggerating.
Of course he's exaggerating, but people are going to speculate and all this. But he said, quote, he'd be the greatest of all time for sure. He'd be the first to tell you that. This guy was a force like I have never seen. It was crazy. A guy at that size, generally guys at that size are a little timid and they don't want to be tall. They don't want to be big. But man, this dude was, and he did not care. He was mean. He was nasty. He was competitive. He was vindictive. He was... Yeah, I wish he was in the gym. I would have had 12 effing rings by now. So, I get it. But what's funny, this is what I love more than anything. I love Shaquille O'Neal's response to this. Shaq went on Twitter and had 2 responses. First one saying, quote, you would have had 12 if you passed the ball more, especially in the finals against the Pistons. #facts. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I don't think that would have mattered because that team was such a defensive force, and they were that 04 Lakers team was like a star-studded, put all the Hall of Famers together that are past their prime, outside of Kobe and Shaq. That Pistons team, nobody was stopping them anyway.
Oh, yeah. And O'Neal said, you don't get statues by not working hard. So, I found it funny. And right. Brian did come out after the fact and did reiterate that he has love for Shaq. There is no beef. There's no issues.
I thought it was really funny. But the next thing that he said, which Shaq had said, he told him, it's like, oh, it's all love, this and that.
Yeah,
and then Shaq goes, oh, you must have been talking about Dwight, like Dwight Howard, but he spelled Dwight wrong. Instead of DWIGHT, he was like DWITE, like a clear slight just a clear shot right at Dwight Howard, which I thought was hilarious because that is who Dwight Howard's always been compared to, is Shaq.
Mm-hmm. Always.
But yeah, it's really, I don't think really read anything into this. Kobe he said a lot of things in that convention. He was up there on stage for a while. He was even talking about his whole Mamba mentality as far as when he got in the league. He basically called out a majority of the league for saying that once they got to the league and they got paid, they were just stagnant. They were okay. Nobody cared about the game like he did and Jordan did. And he's like, yeah, well, I see why Jordan's got 6 damn rings. Like, because nobody else in the league cared. Like, he said a lot of things.
He's always said a lot of things.
But he's never been afraid to say it, and that's kind of what makes him Kobe. Shaq, yeah, he did get a little overweight when he went to LA, but I think it wasn't, I think they were still dominant. They were still very dominant. And those two had Texas-sized egos. It was tough to keep them on the same team for longer than a couple years before something you knew was going to happen. Always
end up something happening. And it was crazy how everything ended up transpiring. The fact that they backed themselves into 3 rings anyways, just because of the fact that at first a lot of people were very surprised that this even happened with Shaq going to LA after leaving Orlando. And, you know, Kobe has been noted as not always being the easiest to get along with.
Right.
But it's Kobe Bryant. So.
Did you know that Shaq also, not Shaq, but one of the another player that played with Shaq and Kobe on the Lakers teams, they said that Shaq had a secret signal with the rest of the team, so they didn't pass Kobe the ball if they thought he was being a ball hog.
I wonder what that sign was.
I want to know what the sign was. I haven't found what the sign was, but I want to know what it is.
If we ever encounter Shaq, because he still lives in the Central Florida area, if we ever encounter Shaq, we have to ask him.
Oh, if I find out what it is, I'm going to do the signal.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to do it.
Please make sure you don't get us thrown off Podcast City Network, which you can find out more at Podcast City.
As long as it's not like derogatory or something. It's probably fine.
It could very well be.
It could very well be. I don't know. It could be like this. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be something crazy. But talking about crazy, a warrant has been issued for DeMarcus Cousins over a domestic violence complaint in Mobile, Alabama. Now, the news surrounding this is quite interesting when you look at it because it's all seeped in drama. Go figure. But looking at the Mobile, Alabama Municipal Court documents, they listed the charges as third-degree harassing communications, which basically came down to the fact that he had told his ex-girlfriend and threatened her during a phone conversation, saying that he would, quote, put a bullet in your effing head, end quote. Now, that's pretty extreme. But again, he did do this after she refused to allow their 7-year-old son to attend Cousins' wedding over the weekend. And then she ended up filing a restraining order against the 29-year-old NBA star. And what do we even make of this? First, he tears his ACL. And now this. He's
had a bit of bad luck as far as injuries are concerned, and the fact that this comes up doesn't make his case any better for trying to make it back to the NBA. Of course, NBA is going to do their own investigation on it. This is not the first time she has filed for restraining orders and things like that against him. But from what I understand and what I read into it is he didn't immediately go to this kind of a violent communication.
Right.
He had asked her and kind of begged and pleaded with her first, and she'd been unwilling to do so. So then he just kind of snapped and just kind of yelled at her. But the fact that he probably did it over a text message,
probably not the smartest idea.
Not very smart in today's day and age. But there is also, I think there was also video that audio that TMZ got a hold of.
Yes.
That has that saying, that phrase that he said on it.
Yes.
And that's just, it's not good for your case, especially if you're trying to get back in the NBA.
And with that as well, because of that audio file, the Lakers and the NBA are both investigating Cousins after he was allegedly recorded making this threat toward his ex-girlfriend. So it's definitely not a very good situation for DeMarcus Cousins to be in. Good thing, I guess you could look at this, though, that the LA Lakers have made a move already of getting Dwight Howard on board, so at least they're able to replace Cousins, because I don't think this is going to end well in any kind of way for him, to be perfectly honest. I think this could end up derailing his career. It really could.
It really could. It's really unfortunate because he was so close to being a max dollar player, and then he had the injury in New Orleans, and then it's kind of domino effect from there.
Most definitely. But I tell you what, there is one guy who's sitting really happy right now, and that's Houston Rockets guard Eric Gordon, who just agreed to a 3-year, $54.5 million contract extension. And I tell you what, it's always good to get paid. What are your thoughts on this?
This is a smart move by Houston because you have a core with him and Russ Westbrook and James Harden. He's the guy that they're going to kick out to kind of extend the 3-point line and help expand that offense a little bit.
Definitely.
Very, very smart for them to bring him on. But the big thing about the details of this deal, it is a 3-year, $54.5 million extension that you mentioned, but it starts in the 2021 season. It includes $20.9 million in the season 23-24. That becomes guaranteed if Eric Gordon makes an all-star team in that time, or if the Rockets win an NBA championship during the course of this deal.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
So Eric Gordon is 30 years old. He's entering the final year of his current deal, which is worth $14 million. So it's pretty good value for them, especially with the type of shooting ability that he brings to that offense.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, they're looking forward to making a push in the Western Conference this year, and he's a big part of that.
Definitely. And I'm really interested to see how all of it's going to turn out, just because I feel that the Houston Rockets really could end up being a team that can make a really great push towards the playoffs and even an NBA championship. So you might end up being able to get this money actually guaranteed. So definitely good on him to be able to get that deal done. But switching gears over, we're going to look over at some Major League Baseball. We were going to look at the power rankings, but things have been so crazy we weren't able to get them out this week. But definitely make sure that you check back. We'll have them out for you guys next week. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the standings and take a look at that. But before we do have a slight update in college football. As of right now, about halfway through the second quarter, Florida State is leading Boise State 24-6 at Doak Campbell Stadium, and definitely are taking them to the woodshed. They started out the game with a very methodical 72-yard drive, ending in a touchdown. So we'll definitely see what happens with this game the rest of the way.
Actually, Boise State just scored.
Oh, just came up. Yep, I just got the update as well.
It just updated 30-13.
Yes, it just updated.
So Boise State scored, and
ESPN.
now Florida State has scored. It's 31-13. 4 minutes left in the second quarter of that game.
But we have something more interesting happening right now, and it was a game we talked about a little bit earlier, and that was Nebraska and Southern Alabama.
Just going there.
Oh, yes. There are 50 seconds left in the second quarter. Nebraska has the ball currently on the Southern Alabama 14, but they're only up 14-7. So maybe an upset in the works?
Yeah, I mean that's a potential upset city game. I mean, but two of the games real quick that we did say upset alert. Kansas is leading Indiana State only 10-3 at half, and at halftime also Toledo, Kentucky are tied at 14.
And another game we actually did not talk about, Iowa State, the 21st ranked team in the nation, is only up 3-0 on Northern Illinois at halftime. So Northern Iowa, sorry, another one to keep an eye out for. So you get all these UNI teams. You never know.
Jesus. Anyway, back to baseball. We're talking about the standings updates here. AL East, New York Yankees are 88-48. They have a 10-game lead on the Rays, who are at 78-58. Red Sox at 73-62.
Ooh.
Toronto, 54-82. Baltimore, 45 wins. Really what you're looking at here is the Red Sox still have a slight chance.
7%.
7%.
I'm rounding.
Yeah, you're definitely being very generous. Rounding
only
up.
0.1%.
Only 0.1%.
Only 0.1.
But the Boston Red Sox are still only 5.5 games out of the second wild card spot. So they still have a chance. But as far as division goes, this is wrapped up.
Yeah, there's no way the Red Sox can take the division at this point. It's looking like the Yankees are starting to run away with it. Even now having a 10-game lead over the Tampa Bay Rays, it just doesn't seem like there's any way that anybody's going to catch up. So it looks like the Yankees are going to take the AL East this year. But switching gears to the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins currently hold a 4.5-game lead over the Cleveland Indians, while also everyone else is 23 games or more back. So basically a two-horse race at this point. Either team could still take this, but looking at the Twins, they're on a 6-game winning streak, which is a huge part of this. So Twins are starting to run away with it a little. Maybe they might actually take the division.
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise. I figured that Cleveland Indians would keep themselves right in it, but they have been struggling a little bit, 5-5 in their last 10, and Twins taking advantage of a pretty favorable schedule right now, and next couple weeks are really going to be fun to watch in the AL Central. AL West, we've got the Houston Astros also at 88-48. They are in massive lead of that division by 9 games, 8-2 in their last 10. And Oakland A's sitting second in that division. They're also locked in on a wild card spot at the time being. Everybody else after that, 22 or more games back in that division. Texas, LA Angels, and the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, yes, definitely hugely. Switching gears over to the National League now. Look at the NL East. The Atlanta Braves now have a nice little 5.5 game lead over the Washington Nationals in that division. I've won 8 of their last 10. Been playing pretty good, but the Nationals are still trying to keep pace and trying to make that push. Also winning 8 of their last 10, and it's really going to coming down to this 2-horse race. The Phillies are starting to fall back a little bit, are 11.5 games back, and are seemingly not going to be able to have a shot at this point. But definitely coming down to this 2-horse race. Definitely going to be very interesting. But the Phillies do still have a shot at the wild card, only being 3.5 games back of the Cubs for that last wild card spot.
Yeah, they only have a 5% chance of making the playoffs based on ESPN's rankings here, while the Mets, who are 2 games behind them, have a better chance at 14.5%.
Funny how that works out.
It's very, I think it's based on the remaining schedule.
Yeah, strength of schedule.
So strength of schedule. The Mets have kind of cooled off a little bit, but we'll see if they can make that one final push.
But the Marlins have a 0.1% chance. Come on, Marlins. No? No, I guess I'm grasping at straws.
Too much. NL Central. Look at the NL Central. We got the Cardinals and Cubs still battling it out, exchanging who wants to take the lead of that division. Cardinals currently lead 73-59, been on 8-2 in their last 10. And the Cubs are at 73-61. They're technically 1 game behind, even though they have 2 more losses in that loss column. But they're on a 4-game win streak, 7-3 in the last 10.
Yeah, it's definitely been killing it, and we'll definitely see what happens there. Milwaukee Brewers are 6 games back in that division as well. Also trying to make a little bit of push, but I think they've fallen off at this point and really don't have a chance to make up that ground.
Bye-bye. Your Brewers pick is gone.
Yeah, there goes the Brewers. But looking at the NL West, which has been the least contested division in all of baseball, the LA Dodgers are 88-49 and have an whopping 18-game lead over the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 69-66. The LA Dodgers have been straight just killing it. They've been splitting 5 for 5 of the last 10, but still have a run differential of plus 217 and are just killing it at home, being 52-18 at home. So definitely watch out for the Dodgers when we get into the postseason.
On the bright side, though, if you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan, you're 5-game win streak and you're over 500. So
yeah, not too bad. And you're 4.5 games out of the wild card. So.
Yeah, the wild card race in the AL is just it's three maybe
down.
4. It's pretty locked down though. You got 4 teams fighting for 2 spots: Indians, A's, Rays, and Red Sox. But the National League, almost everybody's still in it. Really,
yeah, wide open.
Nationals and Cubs are in the top 2 spots right now. Phillies 3.5 back, D-backs 4.5 back, and then Brewers and Mets 5 games back. After that, then you kind of fall into Giants, Reds. They're getting close to 10 games back. Those teams probably don't have a chance, but really you've got 6 teams fighting for 2 spots in the National League.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely been crazy. But switching gears a little bit here, we're going to take a look at our best of the week. And I definitely came prepared today. I don't know about you.
Dude, we're just doing one for you today.
Oh, we're just doing one because mine's that awesome. Because
it is.
You know why? It's because the Detroit Tigers suck. It's okay.
Worst team in baseball.
I even put it there for your best of the week.
I did. I see that. Should I highlight it and bold it?
You should. You should bold it.
I'm just
maybe
going to
announce
bold
it a couple times. Maybe make a sign. Signs are always good. But
there you go.
For my best of the week, and seemingly our best of the week, the Toronto Blue Jays shortstop Bo Bichette becomes the 3rd player with 15 doubles in his first 30 games. Really crazy, and joins really great company. So he hit his 15th double in just his 29th career game after getting called up in just late July. So he's not been playing on the major league level for that long. Now he's only 21 years old and has been hitting 341, 377, and 650 and has 8 home runs on the season entering into Friday's game against the Houston Astros. Now there's only 2 other players who have hit 15 or more and only 1 that beats him out. Do you know who that is?
Who is that?
It is none other than Joe DiMaggio, who has
Smokin' Joe.
Yes, Smokin' Joe, who had 16 doubles in 30 games in 1936. Just to give you an idea of how long ago that was. So he also, in Bo Bichette, becomes the first player in MLB history to hit at least 1 double in 9 straight games. Set that record back in August, and it was also the fastest player to record 10 extra base hits. This guy is literally on fire. He's definitely been taking full advantage of every opportunity he's been given since coming up in July.
Yeah, between Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr., they have a couple of really potential star players in Toronto. And
definitely.
It's really going to be fun to watch them grow over the course of the rest of this season. And of course, next year, if they can continue to improve and they have a really good farm system, they might be able to make a push back to what they were, a couple years ago when they had Bautista and
we're really killing it
and really playing very, very well.
Most definitely. So yeah, your best of the week, Detroit sucks. So moving on to sports history. We have a nice little lengthy one here today, so we're going to kind of rapid fire it. So right off the rip, August 31st, 1909, AJ Reach Company patents the cork-centered baseball, which is predominantly what is still used today.
Oh, and what do you know? Now they're juiced even more. Anyway, next one is September 1st, 1996. Vinny Testaverde completes 19 of 33 for 254 yards as the Ravens beat the Oakland Raiders 19-14 in their debut in Baltimore.
Oh, yes. Great times. But also looking back, September 1st, 2006, Roger Goodell begins his tenure as our NFL commissioner. That's been rocky.
Golf clap. September 2nd, 1966, Joe Auer returns the opening kickoff 95 yards for a Miami touchdown, the Dolphins' first ever NFL regular season game. Oakland Raiders go on to win this game 23-14 at the Orange Bowl in front of 26,776 fans.
Ooh, that's small to today's standards. But looking at September 2nd, 1969, Ralph Hoke signs a 3-year contract to manage the New York Yankees at $65,000 a season, which at the time was the biggest salary in Major League Baseball.
September 3rd, 1938, the 1940 Olympic site is changed from Tokyo to Japan to Helsinki, Finland. After the Second Sino-Japanese War, World War II eventually cancels these Olympics.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was a crazy time. But September 3rd, 1974, future Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame guard Oscar Robertson retires, leaving the NBA with 26,710 points, 9,887 assists, and 7,804 rebounds in just 1,040 games.
Mr. Triple-Double himself. September 3rd, 1995. Expansion teams for the NFL, the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars. Carolina loses their debut NFL game in overtime 23-20 to the Atlanta Falcons at the Georgia Dome in front of 58,808 fans. And the Jacksonville Jaguars fall to the Houston Oilers 10-3. And that was at the Jacksonville Municipal Stadium, which then became Alltel Stadium, which is now TIAA Bank. You should have kept it at Everbank. That was, I liked Everbank. Sounded great.
It had a
the
nice
bank.
roll.
They said lock down the bank, but now it's TIAA Bank Stadium Field, side field, whatever.
It's okay. Not everybody can keep a long-lasting name like the Philadelphia Eagles with the link. It's okay.
Lincoln Financial Field?
Yeah, Lincoln Financial Field. Been called that since its debut in 2003. The Link. Have fun. So September 3rd.
It's still called the bank. I mean, it's still called the bank. It's just a different bank now.
It's okay. It's okay. It's Jacksonville. So September 3rd, 2008, the Oklahoma City NBA franchise announces that the team will be named the Thunder in reference to the powerful storms that roll through the area.
At least one league and franchise can name their teams correctly. September 4th, 2005, 20-year-old Kyle Busch becomes the youngest driver to win a NASCAR Cup Series when he outduels Greg Biffle in the Sony HD 500 at California Speedway, which that name probably changed about 20 million times.
Which one?
Sony HD 500.
Oh, I'm sure it's been the California 500, the Fontana 500, the here, grab some parts out of this spare bag 500, the hey, look, there's a chicken sandwich sitting over there 500. It's the way they name their races are crazy. But to end it all out, September 6th, 1943, Carl Sheep becomes the youngest pitcher in American League history at 16 years, 8 months.
That's insane to be that young,
playing major leagues.
Being able to play in the major leagues.
Oh man, it's been crazy though. But we're now going to turn over to the good old give or go, which if you remember this one, it's our rapid fire topics that we either give or go on, depending upon if we feel it's worth our time. So I'll go ahead and lead it off to you, Craig. Urban Meyer says that Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence is the quote best quarterback that he has ever seen. End quote. Give or go.
Well, he's correct, but Who cares what he thinks? Clearly, he has the best judgment in his players. I mean, outside of Tim Tebow, everybody's been either in jail, murdered people, or has been kicked out of league because of...
Hey, his only job is to get him graduated into the NFL. He did a great job of that.
Graduated.
Oh, sorry. Graduated.
Wait, you can get degrees in prison, right? All right, next one. U.S. women's soccer Carly Lloyd is fielding, quote, serious offers from an NFL team. Give her go.
I'm going to go on this just because she already said there's no way she's going to be able to do anything until she can finish her tenure with the U.S. women's national team. But just to put this out there have been a number of kickers, though, offering their services, including, I think it was Morton Anderson offered his services, including others, to try and help her make it into the NFL. And she said, hey, maybe I will. See what happens.
So, all right. I got to give on this.
Oh,
I can't. I put it in here because I wanted to give on it. This could be huge. This could be huge. She said but the reason why she's waiting on it is not because of, I don't know if I'm going to do it. She said she doesn't want to half-ass it.
Yeah, she still has the women's national team.
Right, and she wants to wait till 2020. So
USA.
Right. I think this could be huge. There's a couple teams. I mean, you got the Ravens and Eagles, and Chicago's probably calling her.
Oh, I'm sure they're the first to call.
I think this is a very potentially big move, not just because it's a soccer player, because women in sports, they're slowly getting integrated by coaching and things like that. Kickers is always one of the places where women can usually break into the NFL, especially with college.
Right.
I've seen a lot of female college kickers.
Yes.
I think this could be huge.
I think it could be, but the thing is that I feel it's so speculatory right now that it's not something you can really put a lot of weight into yet, because she still has to finish her time with the U.S. women's national team, which we saw them go on and win the championship internationally, and they've been fighting for women's equality and pay and all kinds of things. So there's been a lot of things going on with that. However, at the end of that, yeah, I could see it because I saw the practice footage just like you did, where she nails the 50-plus yard field goal. That's amazing.
She's got a better leg than Elliott Fry.
I know, and I bet you know what? They did say there was speculation. There was a lot of teams calling, but there was one who apparently did make a contract offer. I bet you money it was Chicago. I'm
reportedly seeing that it's the Eagles.
Don't say that.
You got kicking troubles in Philadelphia over there?
No. We still have a great kicker.
Yeah, sure.
Still have a great kicker.
Yeah, whatever. What's his name? What's his name? Anyway, next one. LeBron James filed a trademark to try to own the phrase Taco Tuesday for his social media posts and a show of the same name. Give her go.
Really? Taco Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. First things first. Taco Tuesday is already like a very international and
it's a very well-known
pop culture kind of thing. Because I celebrate every Tuesday, sometimes even on Monday. It just depends upon the day. Anyways, but to be able to try and file a trademark for it, I think he might get denied if he wasn't also doing it for a show. And that's the thing I look at, is that he might actually get it. But it also makes me wonder, if you're going to have a show named Taco Tuesday, what is this show going to be about?
I wonder.
You know what?
Taco Tuesday. I'm sorry, it's catchy.
Oh, we just had the Mexican embassy reach out and
this is
condemn us.
I think this is really he always looks for opportunities to build business. And I get that.
Yeah.
But there is no way you can be granted a trademark for Taco Tuesday, which is something that has been, like you said, it's been in the culture, the pop culture for years already.
I could see this, though. If this ended up being like a competitive taco eating show.
I quit.
No, if it becomes a competitive taco eating show, LeBron, call me. I'll definitely be your first competitor. I'll even use the surname Carnage. Does not matter.
Chris Carnage?
Chris Carnage.
Chris Carnage on a taco eating competition? Oh. Yo, sign me up. I'm in.
I bet you he wins automatically. But I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. And we're going to report back on this at some point. Of course,
yeah.
Because I definitely want to see how this plays out. But until then, we got to get to the last one. And that is the NBA 2K released video of the neighborhood and their top 5 dunk ratings. Give her a go.
I want to give quickly just because I'm going to dump on 2K for a second.
Ooh.
I love this game. I've been playing since it was 2K7, 2K6. But so the game comes out in September. Actually, very soon. Yeah, very, very soon. Yeah. But they released Not necessarily. So the neighborhood is the online area where players can go. You can play against other players, playing pickup games, pro-ams, ranked games, things like that. They have done zero to upgrade the gameplay. And the only thing that they've been doing is they're like, oh, hey, look at all these cool little features you can do now. Like you can go and you can race Indy cars around a track around the city and this and that. Yo, 2K, stop.
Yeah, like, slow your roll.
People are going to buy this game. Improve the damn gameplay first, okay?
And foremost.
And the fact that they had, the second one is the dunk ratings, the top 5.
Yes.
Which most of the time I was okay. Well, most of it I was okay with. Number 5 was Hamidou Diallo, who's been in the dunk contest. Then you had Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell. All those guys are in the top 5. Guess who's number 1 with a rating dunk of 97? Take one guess.
No idea.
Zion Williamson.
Really?
A guy who's never even played in a damn NBA game yet. The dude that is not creative whatsoever in dunks. He gets ridiculous. The top dunk rating. Give me a freaking break.
I know he's a big physical guy and everything, but you're a rookie who just entered the league. You should not have a 90 anything.
Give me a break.
That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, and by the way, we've talked about this off air before, but how Grand Theft Auto does online. They do the casino.
Yeah.
2K's doing it too, but they're saying it's not gambling.
Have fun with that.
Good luck with that crap.
Yeah, have fun with that. So
I'm sorry. 2K, you keep doing this stuff, I'll stop buying.
Yeah, for real.
I'll stop buying. This is ridiculous.
You ain't even lying there. But to round out everything, we're going to take a look at the week ahead. Not too much going on, but very important things that are going on. First things first, college football week 2 will be hitting us.
Yep, week 1 games. Of course, we're looking forward to all those games happening the rest of this week. But yes, week 2.
Yeah, week 2. We got some
huge game.
Yeah, we got some interesting matchups, including Texas A&M taking a trip over to play Clemson. That's going to be probably the huge one. Also, LSU taking a trip out to Texas to play the Longhorns. That one's going to be very interesting, especially with Texas trying to rebound to become a prominent program again and having a very good chance of doing so. And then, of course, Stanford at USC. Huge Pac-12 matchup. Always a big rivalry game, and we'll definitely see how that one plays down at the LA Memorial Coliseum.
I think LSU Texas is going to be the best of that 3.
I think, honestly, it will be 2, and I think it'll come down to the wire.
Yeah, Stanford USC is also going to be a close game down the wire. I think Clemson destroys Texas A&M.
Honestly, I think Texas A&M might be able to hang in that. I think they'll hang in until about mid-third quarter, but then I think Clemson's going to start pulling away at that point and probably win by 2, maybe 3 scores.
Okay, I can see that.
But I think it'll be close up until
realistic.
Then, at least.
The other thing we're looking forward to is Thursday on September 5th, week 1 of the NFL season is finally here. Finally here. The Packers and the Bears in Chicago. Bears are favored by 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you take in this game? Because I know we're going to do a weekly NFL pick'em as well.
We are going to do a weekly NFL pick'em.
You want to give them a little taste? Give a little taste?
I might have to.
Who are you taking?
In this one, so for this game, Packers at Bears in Chicago at Soldier Field on Thursday Night Football. I'm going to take the Bears in this one.
Okay. Do you think the Bears cover or do the Packers cover? You got the Bears winning. Do you take the Bears covering win by more than 3?
No, I think the Bears are only going to win by like 1, maybe 2 points. I think this is going to be a very, very close and hotly contested game because this is also a very massive rivalry game.
Absolutely.
So with the Packers and Bears, Khalil Mack's going to play huge in this. I think he's going to be the reason why the Packers offense is only going to be able to score so much. But on the flip side too, because of Chicago's own ineptitude as an offense, I think they're not going to be able to produce as much as well. This is going to be a very, very close game. I'm thinking like 16-17.
Okay.
Like under 20 points.
I think you can take the spread and you can just throw it out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw it out the window. Because the Packers are going to win.
Oh, you heard it here
first. The Packers don't even need to worry about covering because they're going to win.
That's a bold prediction,
and I think because of the reasons you just said, I think the Bears, their defense is not going to be nearly as good as it was. Khalil Mack will be a factor, of course.
Definitely.
But the Packers, they got something to prove. And playing on the road in the NFC North, it doesn't matter who's home, who's away. Home field advantage doesn't really play into effect until December in Lambeau, December in Chicago. Those kinds of places is where you actually see a home field advantage. Early in the season, anything can happen. I'm taking the Packers.
Woo! Bold predictions there. You heard it here first on Final Score. But sadly, this is the end of our episode. It's been a
Officially.
wild 3-hour live stream.
Officially the longest ever.
Yeah, officially our longest ever. But thank you so much for joining us. Definitely make sure that you join us next week for episode 27 when we bring you our NFL playoff predictions along with updates for college football week 1 and any other crazy news that ends up popping up. And let's not forget NFL week 1.
And let's not forget, NHL's right around the corner. We didn't even talk about NHL today.
We haven't had time.
We just haven't
Didn't have enough time.
We got to figure something out. We got to talk to the producers. We got to find out. We got to circumvent this process a little bit.
Yeah, we got to circumvent. Maybe go to 2 episodes or something. I don't know. Maybe come out with a whole nother show. See what happens. Woo. But make sure, though, until then, that you keep up with us on social media. Just go on to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at PCN Final Score. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Drop us a line. We love to interact with our fans. Did so a lot this past week with a lot of our XFL logos. So definitely.
Yeah, we got some heat for our XFL predictions.
Got a little bit of heat.
We got some heat for XFL grades. It was okay.
But definitely drop us a line, and we'll also be dropping a lot of our 2.0 season predictions this week, so definitely make sure you keep an eye out for that. And then make sure that you keep out on all of our platforms. All of our content is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, PodCoin, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Google Play Music. Make sure you go on there and give us a follow and check for notifications. That way you can get an update every single time that we release an episode or any kind of content. But until then, you can also go to podcastcity.net/PCN Final Score. Check out everything we got going on there. Gosh, I can't think of anything else. We got so many outlets.
You almost didn't make it through that.
I almost didn't make it through that. Gotta take a breath. Be okay. But we're going to go ahead and step away, go enjoy our college football weekend before we get hit by a hurricane.
Yeah.
So until next week, definitely make sure that you keep up to date with everything. But thank you for joining us. This has been episode 26 of Final Score. I'm Chris. That's Craig. And you have yourselves a great night.
Podcast City Network.